Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
The 3-2. And drilled to left center field. Grand slam, George Springer.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Second and 10 as that Tennessee defense drops back. As long as trying to make a diving tip, Mahomes with tiptoes inside the 10. Still not out. Oh, what a run. Is that what it sounds like?
It's a positive Friday. How are you? Welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, coming to you live on Oilers Nation YouTube as we wrap up week number 2 here on the station and online. Every day is getting better. I think I might have Connor figured out the thermostat the other day. Amazing. Today I'm trying a new chair because I think it's the pleather on the chair that is leading to a lot of unnecessary sweating. So hopefully we've got all the little bugs ironed out and we will rock and roll. You can always get involved. You can text us 833-401-1440. We might even open the phone lines a little bit later on today because you see the investigation into Mike Babcock. And what did we say, Connor, when the story broke? Said people were like, oh, you got to pick sides. No, you don't. Because Boone Jenner and Mike Babcock's quotes were only about Boone Jenner. They didn't mention anywhere about the other players. Right, Boone Jenner, now his could have been fine. Sounds like it's the young players. And when you look at Babcock's past history, that wouldn't surprise you. Who did he go after in Toronto? Young Mitch Marner. So we'll see where it goes. They continue the investigation. The fact that it's been a few days tells you that it's maybe not as cut and dry as you think. I will say the most moronic and idiotic claim throughout all of this is people that are like, oh, Biz Nasty's doing it to get clicks. I don't know if anybody follows the podcasting world, but Spitting Chicklets has been like the number one hockey podcast for a long time. I don't think they do things just for clicks. Now, you can disagree with some of the stuff they say. That's allowed. But because you don't like someone, you don't just instantly say, wow, come on, why would he have any credibility? Well, why would he lie? Right? Why would he lie? When has Biz Nasty had a record of lying? Right? You can disagree with their thoughts and, maybe it's a little too misogynistic for you. That's valid. But that's not lying. Totally two different things. I don't recall a time where I've seen him spreading falsehoods. So we'll see what it comes. But the fact that it has not been a clean and cut process suggests, as we said, wait till they talk to some of the younger guys. We even said, it's easy to ask Boone Jenner, hey, you're married, pictures of your kids. That's fine. He's the captain. Coach isn't that much of an idiot, but when you look at his past, who do you go after? The guys you think you can maybe intimidate. Young players. First year, second year players are just like, oh my goodness, I got to do whatever the coach says. And I actually give him credit for speaking up to say, hey, wait a sec. This is not right. If indeed he asked for their phones and played it on airplay, and with every passing moment, it seems like that's plausible. It's not good. This is the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Geez, now I got to wait. We did our 3 parlay wager yesterday. We always do everything $20 a day, and everything we win goes to charity. This month, we're helping out Kids Sport. And we had Tampa because Tampa was a 2-1 underdog. Even though they had 90 wins and Baltimore had 91, Tampa wins. Nice. We picked the Eagles straight up. They win. Nice. We had the Giants rain out. So now I got to wait till Saturday to make up that game. Jeez. I'm not a patient person. I can't wait that long. Come on. So we'll see. You can make your wager or you just want to play some lottery. It's Lotto Max tonight. Cool $12 million up for grabs. PlayAlberta.ca. As I mentioned, you can text us 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox on the old trusty text line. You can always send longer thoughts via email. Gregor at sports1440.ca. Connor at sports1440.ca. The con man is here. As always, Cons, how you doing? Ready for a big weekend?
Absolutely, Gregor. We got the Elks tonight. Going to be a lot of fun. Lots of stuff going around in the city for some of the other teams as well. And did we not go Jordan Addison over receiving yards as well?
We did do that, yes.
So we got that one there.
We beat that one easy. Yeah, because it was only like 44.
He
So
did it in one play, one deep shot. We knew it was coming, so there's a little money won. But yeah, doing good, Gregor. Looking forward to a busy weekend in the sporting world.
that with the Elks, we will get to Saskatchewan right off the hop. That's a big game as they take on the Riders tonight. Rob Vanstone will join us in the first hour. We got another 2 minutes with Cam Tait coming up at 2:40. Also, the Hitman, Bret Hart, one of the all-time greatest wrestlers, will join us at 4:20. Find out what he's doing. Like, I'll be honest, man. Like, this is going to be a little memory lane for me. And we're not going to talk about Vince McMahon. He's been asked about that one, the screw job, right? He's been asked 1,000 times. I can't ask him again. If you've never heard the answer, you can go find it. I'm not going to ask him about that because it's being asked. I probably am going to ask him a lot about Stampede Wrestling because that's where I first remember Bret Hart and Bruce Hart and Keith Hart and Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, the whole family. Dynamite Kid, you kidding me? They're all in there. Cuban Assassin, Mucka Singh. Yeah, so we'll go a little bit down memory lane. And then obviously going on to WWE, and he had tons of success there. Had some health issues for a bit, but is doing great. So looking forward to that. Wanya Gretz will be by as well today. LT, we have Mark Spector. Also, we will go around the NHL. Today, we're going to focus on the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, Blake Wheeler, of course, they bought him out. And then the Rangers might have one of the best value contracts at $800K for Wheeler. We'll see how that pans out. But Winnipeg didn't have the busy summer that a lot of people thought they might have. Good thing or bad thing? What's going on in Winnipeg? Hellebuck, Scheifele, both pending unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. Is this going to be one where all depends how the season goes? The Jets are competitive. They might just roll the dice. If not, try to move those guys. The problem is, now, Dwayne Rolson did get you a first-round pick way back in 2006. But the return a lot of times for goaltenders is less than you would like. It's just how it's been historically. So we'll see what they do if they're in that position. Also, Lorianne Munzer will join us, our weekly Friday 3 o'clock guest. Of course, a two-time Olympic gold medalist. She is the Monday co-host with Kevin Carius. And she talked. She said some things last week that really piqued my interest, and I think I can relate to it and correlate it to the Edmonton Oilers from an athlete perspective. So we'll talk to Lori about that. As mentioned, we'll get to all your texts, emails as well. Last night, competitive game. We also picked the over Cons, and it was over. You look at you just can't win when you fumble the ball that much. It's just that simple, right? That's what cost the Vikings. I don't think there's any question about that. So. They're going to have to rectify that. They're 0-2 now. Eagles 2-0. And the Vikes going to have to figure some things out. The injury list is rather long for this upcoming weekend. Your boy, I got to ask you, Cons, your Chargers. Now, Eckler's got an ankle injury.
Yeah.
He hasn't practiced in 3 days. Could they just be resting the ankle? Because, let's be honest, does he really need to practice?
I mean, no, I don't think he does. The playbook, I think he's got that down pat. I think he's going to be ready to go once the ball is kicked off or snapped. But I mean, I would be a little bit weary because he did come out of the game. He looked like he was in some discomfort. So I would be a little concerned about that Austin Eckler. When I said it, I think going back to Monday or Tuesday, if you can pick up Joshua Kelly, get that depth spot. The Chargers want to run the ball. Kellen Moore is going to run the rock. And Joshua Kelly looked like he was pretty efficient doing so. So I think there is some room for concern there when it comes to the Austin Eckler fantasy owners. I don't think it's going to be something that keeps him out for too long, but I could see him missing this week after not practicing.
Well, that puts a little bit extra pressure on the Chargers, who are 0-1, and tough matchup. It's not like they got an easy matchup this weekend at all. So Tennessee, a desperate team as well. So we'll see. The Baltimore Ravens defense. You got 2 starting guys in the secondary, 2 starters on the O-line out. This is, this game is setting up for a perfect bounce back for the Cincinnati Bengals just because of all the injuries in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. Ronnie Staley at the tackle, Marlon Humphrey at corner, like you said. Mark Andrews, one of Lamar Jackson's most reliable targets there. He's going to probably, well, at the very least, be knocked up a little bit there, a little banged up. He's got some injuries. So for sure, this would be a good one to go with Joe Burrow, getting back at there. He's got all those targets. I know you're a T. Higgins owner, so you're hoping for a bounce back performance there. Jamar Chase, a lot of guys. You would think so. I know Joe Burrow kind of started off slow last year as well before he found his stride. So hopefully for me, a Joe Burrow owner, and for you, a T. Higgins owner, this is the week they do it.
Well, T. Higgins had 8 passes thrown his way. I'll be honest, I'm not sure any of them were catchable. Like, they weren't really close on much. So a little bit out of sync. So I would expect Higgins to put up something. I'm not sold he'll put up huge numbers, but I would think, he'll at least have a catch. Goddard got a catch. So there was progress in that regard. Now, going to the Elks, big game tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Think about it. Like, if you would have asked Elks fans a month ago, hey, you know what? They got a big game against Saskatchewan on September 15th. You'd be like, what are you talking about, dude? Well, guess what? Here we are. It's September 15th. And this game actually matters quite a bit for the Elks. They are 3-1 in their last 4. Now, you can say 3-2 in their last 5, and they played really well against Winnipeg. Right now, I think they even things out. They didn't play great the whole game against Calgary and the one that they won. And then the game they lost against Calgary, they played 45 minutes where they were the better team and then lost in the fourth quarter. So I think the record is kind of fair to who they are right now. Saskatchewan is 6-6. Edmonton wins this game. They'd still be 2 wins behind them, right? And Saskatchewan has a tiebreaker. So it's difficult to envision a situation where they catch the Riders. But a victory today, and they would tie Calgary with wins, and then they would be only 1 win back of Hamilton, and Hamilton is taking on Winnipeg. And man, I got to think that Winnipeg's going to win that game. So there's a lot on line for the Elks. At least it keeps them hungry. It keeps them alive for the potential. I think it's a long shot, honestly, because you got to remember, you can't be tied with Hamilton. You have to have more points than Hamilton in the crossover. If it's a crossover, the tie automatically goes to the Tiger Cats. So you think about it, they're kind of like 2 wins back of Hamilton, even if they win this weekend. So it's pretty low chance, but as Jim Carrey once said, so you're telling me there's a chance. So what you got to look for if you're the Riders in that game tonight. We'll get going at 7:30 Edmonton time. So you got lots of time after, or maybe you're barbecuing because it's unbelievable weather. This is fantastic weather right now. So get outside, enjoy it as long as you can. The Oilers, also the Young Guns, they get going tonight. Some of you will be watching it. I know the diehards will watch it. I'll be honest. I got an Elks game on. I'm probably watching that. Right? If I'm being completely honest. I don't have, like, I want to see Borgo and Wayner and those in preseason NHL games. Totally different. But, if Borgo plays really well at the rookie camp, I won't be surprised. Now, if he doesn't, now keep in mind, Philip Broberg didn't really stand out and dominate last year either. So it's always hard to dominate sometimes. Make no mistake about that. Hey, boys, what are they going to do about Chandler Jones? They can't keep paying him to sit at home to trash the team. Seems like he needs some mental health help. Well, I can't comment on the last one. Cons, what do you make of that situation?
It's very weird. Yeah, and never a good idea when the star player or one of the star players on the team starts sharing personal text messages between the coach and the owner and, putting it on his Instagram. I don't know exactly what is the deal there. I know they're happy they drafted a pass rusher with their first round pick in this spring's draft, but it's a sticky situation. It's very messy. Like you said, there might be something going on. As a Chargers fan, I like to see the Vegas Raiders organization going through some crazy stuff because it seems like there's always something going on with that team. But it's very messy. I don't know if they can fix that relationship with Chandler Jones and the coaching staff, ownership, or whether you just release him and move on. But the talent is so high with that guy. You kind of want to have him back at some point.
Yeah, you would think so. I outlined 10 things today at OilersNation.com that I think are going to happen this upcoming season for the Edmonton Oilers. And we'll go through them throughout the show today. We'll get your thoughts. Feel free to chime in, 833-401-1440, on some things that you believe are going to happen. Here's a few examples of what I think. Number 1, I think Leon Draisaitl is going to have a good start. Now, if you just look at points last year, you'd say, well, he had 31 points in the first 20 games. Yeah, it's pretty good. But dig a little bit deeper, he was getting crushed 5-on-5. And the reason was simple. Leon Draisaitl didn't get to train very much in the offseason because he was rehabbing the high ankle sprain that occurred in round 1 against the LA Kings. And then he gutted it out for round 2 and round 3. Probably made it a little bit worse. And so he wasn't able to train to the level that he likes. And I'm telling you, when players don't get that opportunity, it's an impact. Now, Leon Draisaitl is one of the best players in the game. So even when he struggles, he's still better than most players. But if you look at his 5-on-5 scoring early on in the first 20 games, you look at his shot for, shots against, what happened when he was on the ice, it wasn't great. It wasn't awful. It just wasn't great. And I don't think it was to the level that he's capable of. I would expect a better start from Leon Draisaitl in his possession game, his overall game. It's going to be hard to score 31 points in 20 games, right? Like, prorate that, man. That's 100. That's basically his pace for the whole season, right? That would be 124 points, 126 actually in 82 games. What did he finish with? 128. So, you know what? He was pretty consistent. So his point totals didn't change. But if you look at, I thought his game overall, as he got a little bit better in shape, not that he was out of shape, but when you don't get to train to the level you want, you're just not at the condition that you feel you should be. And this summer, he had a great season of training, spent a lot of time in Canada. Him and McDavid were training a lot together, but it was more so just him. He got to be on the ice as much as he wanted. He got to train as much as he wanted. And I think that's going to make a big difference for him. This is the easy one. Hey, McDavid set personal best by 20 goals, 10 assists, and 30 points last year. I don't see him getting 183 points, although that would be unbelievable. But I do believe Connor McDavid is going to push for 150 points again. Keep in mind, in 2021, Connor McDavid had 105 points in 56 games. You know what that prorates to? 154 points in an 82-game season. Now, that's prorating, so it's never guaranteed. But the point was he was on pace for it. So that's 2 out of 3 years he's been that dominant offensively. And when you look at the greats of the greats, like the truly great players, they don't just have like a one-off thing. There's guys who have career years, like a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Do I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to get 104 points? No. Connor McDavid being around 150, 149, 148, 151, I won't be surprised at all. I just think he's that good. And the Oilers' power play right now looks unstoppable. The one thing I do believe that McDavid's going to do, he is going to join a rather unique club. He'll become the 12th player in NHL history to have 90 assists in a season. He had 89 last year. The last player, really the only player since 1996 to have 90 assists in a season, Joe Thornton. He had 96 and 92 in 2006 and 2007. Adam Oates had multiple 90 points, 90 assist season. Bobby Orr had 2. Mario Lemieux had 5. Gretzky had 13. Like, he's such a different level. It's crazy. Those are some other ones. Now, here's one that, now, first of all, I'm just going to say, I don't believe in jinxes. Okay. But here's one when I look at numbers, and you can read the article to see it. There was only one. If you look at teams last year, health on the blue line makes a big difference. 14 of the 16 playoff teams had 5 or 6 defensemen play at least 60 games. The only 2 who didn't, Colorado and Toronto, they had 4. The Edmonton Oilers were the only team in the NHL last year that had 5 defensemen. Now, I'm including Barrie and Ekholm because they got traded for one another, and they combined to play 82 games. Barrie got traded out. Ekholm comes in, doesn't miss a game. Boom. Nurse didn't miss a game. Kulak didn't miss a game. Bouchard didn't miss a game. Cody Ceci missed 2. That's it. Your top 5 defensemen missed a total combined of 2 games. The odds will tell you somebody's going to miss a few more games this year. That's just the numbers. It's a history. You go around and look at teams, right? Just look at teams who even had, like, how many guys play even 70 games, never mind 80. Right? It's hard to get. The only teams that had 5 defensemen play 70 games, Florida and Seattle actually each had 6. So keep that in mind about Seattle. Seattle was pretty healthy on the back end. They had all 6 of their defensemen play at least 73 games. They only missed a total of 21 games combined in their whole blue line. Florida, Carolina, Dallas, Edmonton, LA, the Islanders, and the Jets, all playoff teams. The only non-playoff team was Philly. They had 5 defensemen play 70 games. So health on the blue line matters when you got a good team. And I think you will see Broberg and Desharnais play more games this year because somebody's getting nicked up. It's not a jinx. It's just a fact based on history. and numbers. And it's hard to have 5 D-men play 80 games. It's amazing. Amazing. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Rob Vanstone will join us on Sports 1440 live on OilersNation.com YouTube channel. It is the Jason Gregor Show.
PlayAlberta.ca.
Legacy Heating's got a deal that's the bomb with no... Request a quote for your project today. Visit BIEENG.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Try their new one-topping garlic or spicy garlic epic stuffed crust for $21.99 for a limited time, only at papajohns.ca.
We roll through a positive Friday. How are you? A little brass bonanza for you. Get you in the mood for what should be a great weekend. Oh man, is there lots going on. I love it. Football at all levels. High school football is going on. You got junior football, U Sports, CFL, NFL. Outstanding. Baseball. Oh, the Jays. We will have to talk about the Jays. How about this? They got swept at home in a 4-game series for the first time in franchise history. Couldn't have come at a worse time. And the last few games weren't even close. Well, really, the whole series wasn't that close. They got destroyed. So Are they going to be able to lick their wounds? I can't believe their manager's like, I don't think confidence is a thing. What? How could you possibly say that, John Schneider? Like, I don't think confidence is a thing. Pardon? Like, every athlete in the history of the game will tell you that, yeah, my confidence can wane up and down. Like, geez, if that's the deep thinker they have as a manager, God help them. God help them. Let's get to the CFL report now, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no interest, no payments for 1 year on your AC or furnace. Depends what you like. Trust me, it's so hot right now. You still want to get AC? Check out legacyheating.ca. As we welcome in from Riderville.com, longtime beat reporter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We are joined by Rob Vanstone. Robbie, how you doing?
Good, Jason. How are you doing? I love your theme. It's so old school.
Oh, the brass? Hey,
I
it's good.
love that. I've always loved that. It's so great to hear it again.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you. Thanks for being back on. It's good. And you know what? It's nice to have a game with some meaning because 5 weeks ago, people weren't if the Elks would win a game all season. And you know what? They finally get rid of their OC. They change out their quarterback, and the combination of Jarius Jackson and Trey Ford at least has the Elks an exciting team to watch. Them and the Riders have played 2 games this year. The Riders won both. Both were very close, though. So I guess let's start with any noticeable or key injuries for the Riders this week.
Well, there's nothing really recent. I mean, the Rough Riders are still on their 3rd starting quarterback of the year, Jake Dolegala, and that's due to injuries. In Edmonton, it's also starting quarterback number 3, but for different reasons. So I mean, that's the Trevor Harris injury that was a monster. And but Jake Dolegala has come in and has won two of his 3 starts. So it's going to be interesting because you're watching 2 quarterbacks tonight who are both in their 2nd year in the league and both being handed the ball for the first time for an extended period. Totally different styles of play, but both have been getting results.
Now, the Elks and the Stamps had almost mirror images games. In Calgary, the Elks dominated the first 3 quarters, and then the home team comes back and wins in the 4th, and then it was role reversal in Edmonton. Meanwhile, the Riders beat Saskatchewan the Bombers, and then got crushed in game 2 in the rematch. So what did you make of the second game? Is that more of a reflection of the skill set of the 2 teams, or do the Riders just simply not play close to their level?
That's just what's happened so many times during that head-to-head with Rough Riders and Winnipeg. It just seems the home crowd and the home turf is so powerful in that series. I remember in 1995, the Riders beat Winnipeg 56-4. The next week, Winnipeg won 25-24. Just that's the degree to which the pendulum can swing. And it wasn't a back-to-back series, but in 1986, the Riders lost 56-0 in Winnipeg and then won 34-30 on Labor Day 7 weeks later. Like, it's just, who can figure it? It's just, it's confounding, but that's sports. And every now and then you just get those games that you really can't put your finger on why it happened, but it's happened enough. You just attribute it to, that's why they play the games.
The Elks rushing attack had over almost 450 yards in 2 games against Calgary. It's been pretty good. The Saskatchewan's kind of middle of the road right now in rushing yards against. They've allowed 1,300. I think that has them 5th in the league. So basically right smack in the middle. I would expect Edmonton to want to try to continue to pound the ball tonight. If you look at passes attempted with Trey Ford, it's been 16, 18, 18, 23, and 22. They like to run the ball a lot. How do you think this run defense of the Riders will match up to the run attack of the Elks?
Well, there needs to be an improvement. I mean, last week, Brady Oliveira rushed for 150 plus yards against the Rough Riders. And I mean, that's not the first team Brady Oliveira has done that against, but it's going to be an interesting challenge because now you got Brown with the Elks, plus the challenge presented by Trey Ford. And Craig Dickinson, the Rough Riders head coach, talked about it earlier this week, the discipline that's going to be required on defense, because a lot of times it's going to be the run pass option out of the shotgun, and it's going to be who is going to run the ball. Is it going to be Brown or is it going to be Ford? And the Rough Riders have to be so attentive to the skills of each player, and B, the need to be disciplined with their assignments, because if you take one step to the left when you should take one step to the right or hold your ground, with Trey Ford's speed, that's all that is required for him to get a major gain. He's averaging more than 10 yards a carry this year. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He's a dynamic player for sure. And he's so inexperienced when you consider he didn't really have that many games, even when he played in U Sport. So I'm really curious to see what the future holds when this guy just gets more comfortable and has, 40 or 50 CFL games under his belt, to see where he's at. Rob Vanstone joins us, a longtime beat reporter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, writes at Riderville.com. Conversely, you mentioned that, the youth in Saskatchewan, and, earlier in the year, there was lots of people that are wondering about Dickinson and, his future there. Well, what do you make of that? And how do you think, he's coached recently?
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, again, this team's been beset by injuries this year. Tonight they will dress their 10th different offensive lineman of the year, with Philip Blake returning to the lineup as the 6th offensive lineman. Especially earlier in the year, it was really tough for there to be the same receiving core from game to game. And by midseason, the Rough Riders were on their 3rd starting quarterback of the year. So for the team to be 6-6, considering all of that's been thrown in front of them, I think what Craig Dickinson has done is commendable. I mean, yes, the game last week was one-sided, but the Rough Riders have won 2 of their last 3 games, and those 2 victories were against the 2 top teams in the West. So when you consider that is being done with some of the personnel situations that the team has been facing unavoidably due to injuries, I think that's a testament to the coaching.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. When you look at Saskatchewan and with all the injuries, sometimes it's a benefit because you're like, oh, geez, this guy can play, and maybe you didn't see. So have they unearthed any gems that maybe they weren't sure of now that they've got more playing time because of it?
Well, again, I'll go back to Jake Dolagala. Coming into the season, he'd started 1 CFL game, and that was last year against Toronto when the team was decimated by a COVID outbreak. So there really wasn't much around him on that day in terms of a supporting cast, because a lot of the team was either ailing or unavailable. So this is the first chance to get a real read on Jake Dolagala, and we're seeing that throwing arm that people have been raving about. So that's a really interesting development. I mean, it's sort of reminiscent of what's happened with the Elks and Trey Ford. They needed a quarterback to pick it up after what happened earlier in the year, and there was Trey Ford has done what he has done in a totally different way. Jake Dolagala, with that throwing arm and the dimension he provides with his height and his ability to access pretty much any part of the field with his arm strength, has been interesting. You look at the receiving core and some of the things that the Rough Riders have had to unearth. Darrell Walker, week 1 in Edmonton, was injured late in the game. The Riders won that game 17-13. That opens the door for Tevin Jones, who's probably going to get 1,000 yards this year. Jarrah Stearns ends up playing. He was put up huge numbers in the NCAA, but he gets an opportunity as a result of a void that needs to be filled, and he looks like a keeper. So that's been the key to the Rough Riders just holding serve so far this year, is the depth is really being evident. We're going to see it too. Tremaine Washington is starting at defensive halfback tonight, and Elks fans will remember him because 2 years ago he had 5 picks in 14 games for Edmonton, led the league in that category. So that's you mentioned injuries off the top. Tremaine Washington being infused into the lineup is something to watch tonight. And
Rob, just one other one quickly. If you look I know football, obviously in Saskatchewan, football reigns supreme, and the Golden Bears are 2-0, and they're in Saskatchewan. Right. What do you make of that?
That's going to be a cool game to follow, and the Huskies just looks like such a machine too. I mean, they lost Mason Nias to graduation, a terrific quarterback, and in comes Anton Amandrew of the Huskies, who's from Lloydminster, Alberta, and he's thrown 4 touchdown passes in both of his starts for the Huskies. So that's going to be a real interesting game to follow. I heard that mentioned on the radio actually when I was earlier today, and I'm thinking, I've got to, without neglecting my duties with regard to the Rough Riders and Elks, I got to keep an eye on that Huskies Golden Bears game tonight, because that's going to be really intriguing.
Well, it'll be a real good test for the Golden Bears to kind of see where they're at. They're off to a good start, 2-0, but the Huskies have looked really dominant, and and winning would be unbelievable. But if they're close in that game, I think they can take a lot from it. So I'll be curious to see how Chris Morris and his team does tonight. Rob, always good to catch up with you, man. Enjoy the game. Expected a big crowd?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good crowd tonight. I'm not sure what the numbers are going to be, but I love Friday night football. It's cool to see it in person, and I hope you enjoy it as well. It's great to be on your show and to hear your voice again, Jason.
Awesome, Rob. Good seeing you, man. That is
Yeah, my
Rob
pleasure. Take care.
Vanstone from Riderville.com, longtime beat reporter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And yeah, if you're a football fan, man, of all levels, there's so much going on. But good start for the Bears. But this will be a huge test tonight. So I know you know some of you might be watching that online. Maybe you got the TV room set up. You got 2 TVs. Maybe we watching the Huskies and the Bears, and then of course you can watch on TSN the Elks and the Rough Riders. That was the CFL report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. It's the Jason Gregor Show live on Sports 1440, also live on Oilers Nation YouTube. You can get involved. You can text us 833-401-1440 or just get in the chat. We got the chat going on. Connor, myself always interject on YouTube as well with some comments, so you can read there. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton. Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high. It's far. It is gone. Walk-off home run.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio, Sports 1440. We'll be dialed in for every minute. Get it done, and then some at Edmonton Kubota. All compact BX tractors on sale with 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by on 128th Ave or visit edmontonkubota.com.
There's 2 seasons in Alberta, winter and construction. During these days of traffic barricades and slower commutes, GS Construction reminds you those crews are improving our communities. They're rehabilitating and upgrading Edmonton's infrastructure all across the city. When you see the barricades and run into a traffic backup, remember, the crews are there to help. Drive slow and be patient. Help make our city better and join the GS Construction team. See what they're hiring for on Indeed.com. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community since 1974.
Feel the electric atmosphere and celebrate every Edmonton Oilers home game this season inside Rogers Place. Time is running out. Come be a part of what looks to be a season to remember. Less than 275 season seats remain for the 23-24 Edmonton Oilers season. Hurry to edmontonoilers.com/season seats to get yours before they're gone. Don't miss any historic moments from this incredible lineup. Get your season seats today at edmontonoilers.com/season seats.
You'll absolutely love the new and app-approved Booster Juice app. Download it today and start earning berry points for app-amazing rewards. Apply your points for all of your Booster Juice favorites for free. From booster balls to smoothies, snacks, and combo deals. Even digital gift cards. Plus,
The 2-minute warning with Cam Tait on Sports 1440 for Friday, September.
Connor Halley with you. Got a loaded lineup. Got a lot of text flying in. 803-401-1440. Hey, boys, I'm not going to lie. Last week, the Brass Bonanza started to play, and I got momentarily emotional. It's been too long. Call me Ominous Cloud. It's my gamer tag. I love the show. Great to have you guys back. Well, Ominous, it's awesome. Little emotions, never a bad thing. I like it. So, JG, I went into week-long depression when 1260 was off the air, as it was the only station allowed in my vehicle. Then I was flicking through, and I hear your voice and found the perfect mess for my depression. This will now be the only station allowed again. Awesome, guys. I needed it. That one comes from Craig. Well, Craig, if we can do any small thing to help you feel better, it's a huge honor for us. We're happy that you listen and enjoy it, and it's great. 1440. That's the place to be. Of course, you can watch it on YouTube if you ever need a laugh. Check that out. Hey guys, just have to say it's amazing. The Brass Bonanza is back. Thank you. Hey, you know what? I agree. I hadn't heard, you know what? And I refused to play it at my house. That was just my thing. I said, you know what? It was like my motivation to get back was to have the Brass Bonanza. Even my son, who at first was like, meh, but doing the show at home, he used to come downstairs on Fridays. And the song, it's a real toe tapper. It's hard for most people not to suddenly start seat dancing or doing a little jig when the brass comes on, which is fantastic. It is now time for the 2-minute warning with Cam Tait. Now, for those, maybe this is your first time listening to the show. So I always like to preset this in case you're wondering. So Cam Tait has cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair. And at times, it's difficult to understand what he has to say. Cam is, he's been a longtime journalist and writer, award-winning author. He always wanted to do radio, but obviously because of his cerebral palsy, he was unable to. But now, with the technological advancements that we have, we allow the 2-minute warning with Cam Tait every Monday and Friday at 2:45.
The 2-minute warning with Cam Tait on Sports 1440 for Friday, September 15th. I'm Big Bad Brian on VoxBox, and I'll read words written by Cam today. Really? Blue Jays? Really? Here we go. $216,763,840. That's the payroll of the Toronto Blue Jays. Dig it one time with me, please. $216,763,840. 8 these beauties drop 4 in a row. When by my flashing daytimer gizmo, it's September. Hark, autumn cometh forthwith. Unless the moon and stars get really messed up, the World Series is in October. So one would think you would be dialed in September. Play your best. Give up the booze for a few weeks. Get rested up. Get focused. Especially when you're in a wild card race. Where is the urgency here? The Blue Jays were swept by the Texas Rangers this week. 4 games, scoring 9 runs and giving up 35. Hear it one more time. The Jays were outscored 35-9 in 4 games. The Seattle Mariners must be breathing a little easier and can visualize, with good reason, a wild card spot. Now I really do. Teams have losing streaks during the season, but now Blue Jays fans, really? And even with that kind of dough, these fellas can't even buy a win. Come on now. When there's so darn much on the line, the Jays' season is all but over. My point is it would not have to be if they treated September more seriously. For a payroll of $216 million, Blue Jay fans who go to their games in Toronto, they have every right to revisit their investment. The Cam Tait 2-minute warning is heard every Monday and Friday on the Jason Gregor Show, right here on Sports 1440.
Lay off the booze. as I told when Cam approached me to want to do this, and he had sent me a few practice ones, and I said, Tater, I know you. That's like, they were very polite. And not that Cam isn't polite. He's very polite, but he has a really good wit. Cam was actually a sit-down comedian for a long time. He's in a wheelchair. Get the joke? That's what he said. So he's got those subtle little lines, and it's true. The 216 mil and the Jays. Now, the only saving grace for the Jays is that Seattle's 4-6 in their last 10, and Toronto's 5-5. Now, Toronto, of course, just lost 4 in a row, so it does not look great. They're 1.5 back of Seattle at this point, and now they're 2.5 back of the Rangers. The Jays, of course, are taking on Boston. Seattle's taking on the Dodgers, so maybe you could gain some ground. We'll see. But the Jays, they've struggled against competitive teams. Now, Boston isn't that competitive, but they are the team right below them in the American League standings, granted by 6 games. And trust me, you don't think the Red Sox would love nothing more than to pile on more pain for the Blue Jays? Yeah, this will not be an easy series at all. But they got to wake up. Somebody's got to peel the paint. Somebody's got to read the riot act, because it's like losing's one thing. They got blown out. 4 straight games at home. As I mentioned earlier, first time in franchise history, they were swept at home in a 4-game series. Like, it's hard. It's hard to lose 4 in a row in baseball, and it's really hard to lose 4 in A. Now, I know you don't have that many 4-game homestands, so I understand it. But still, to lose all 4? Come on. It was not, it's not great at all. So there you go. 2-minute warning with Cam Tait. You know what? He's getting more comfortable. I'm enjoying it. And, we're happy to give somebody who's always wanted to have a voice, an opportunity to have a voice. And I think now he's obviously had a written voice for a long time, but he likes the audio voice. So I think it's pretty cool. Hey, boys, best segment. I love Tait from Northside Adam. Hey, Adam, you know what? Doing good. I love it. Hey, guys, I have to say I love when the Blue Jays lose from Tootsie Rolls. Non-Jays fan. I get it. It's totally fair. Hey, guys, so glad you're back on air, especially here in Brass Bonanza on Pause of Friday. Been listening since you started Pause of Fridays, and 2 months you guys off are weird. Fridays definitely aren't the same without the brass. Love the show. Cobra in Clairview. Big shout out to Clairview. I like it. Cobra and everybody else over there. Keep the streets clean and calm over in Clairview right now, Cobra. That'll be the goal for sure. Hey, Gregor, realistically, how many goals do you think McDavid can score? Oh, man. Well, he scored 64, so I guess I can say realistically he can score 64. He just did it. The one thing about Connor McDavid, and the reason why I believe McDavid is going to, like last year, and like I said, it doesn't mean he's going to get 153, but if he gets 148, like, it's still ridiculously dominant, right? Like when Gretzky got 215 and then only got 208, did people say, oh, geez, what a terrible year by Wayne. Can't believe he only got 205, right? No, not all. Like Gretzky had like a 7-8 year span where he was just out of this world. And I firmly believe that McDavid has the same opportunities to do this exact same thing. And the big one for me with McDavid is if you look at him over the last 5 years, the reason why I think Connor McDavid's going to score 50 goals again and maybe push for 60 is he has continued to improve and evolve his game. And just look at his shots per 60, right? And 5 years ago, it was 8.8. Then it went up to 9.09. Then 9.67. Then he jumped ahead to 10.71. And then last year was his highest at 11.51. When the best player in the game is shooting more, your odds of scoring increase. As Gretzky said, can't score if you don't shoot. Or something along those lines. Actually, I think he might have said, all the goals you miss, you don't, something like that. All the shots you don't take, you miss. I can't remember. I'm butchering it, but you know what I meant. Do you know the quote, Cons?
I thought it was Michael Scott that said that. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is Michael Scott. Yeah, Gretz borrowed from Michael Scott. Yeah. It went back in time. So it went to the future, got it, and then went back to use it. But I won't be surprised at all. As far as could McDavid score 70? Like, I don't see why not. Like, nobody thought Gretzky was going to score 92 when he did, right? And then Bret Hart and Mario Lemieux scored in the high 80s, right? Gretzky scored 87 another year. So could Connor McDavid score 70 goals? Yes. Is it hard? 100%. Right? So realistic's a good word the way you use it, because I do think if you score 64, I think you can say without a massive stretch that it's realistic that he could score 70. Other guys have scored 70. He scored 60 recently. Pasternak scored 60. Matthew scored 60. Right, so we've seen more goals lately. Offense is up in the NHL, which personally, obviously, I'm a big fan of. So it's a good question. I'm going to say, I think McDavid scores 63 goals this year. I hope I'm low. Like, I'd love him to, like, I thought he could score. I remember a few years ago, I said, I think it's realistic he could score 140 points. And then he blew that out of the water. So I hope I'm low. I hope we have like 3 or 4 60-goal scorers in the regular season. Because if you look in the playoffs, McDavid still produces quite a bit in the playoffs. The one thing I will say right now, next year's postseason, McDavid will be much more productive 5-on-5 than he was last year in the playoffs. He'll be like, look at 2022. It was ridiculous what he did. 2 points a game, crazy. Last year, though, his 5-on-5 production, way lower than what you'd think from him. So I think you'll see a medium right in the middle from McDavid this year. Hey, Gregor, I thought you never take the under 63. Well, I think the line actually, Cons, look it up. I think the line for McDavid's goals this year is actually 54.5. So I am taking the over. It's under what he scored last year, yes. But in theory, I'm taking the over for what the line is. So, hey, guys, if McDavid shoots, he can get 75. Well, McDavid does shoot. I think it's passé to say that Connor McDavid is a first pass guy all the time anymore. I don't really think he is. Like, he had 352 shots last year. The only guys in the league who had more shots, David Pasternak, Nathan McKinnon. That's it. So, and keep in mind that McDavid had 20 more assists than McKinnon, 22 more goals than McKinnon. He had 3 more goals than Pasternak, but he had 37 more apples than Pasternak. Pasternak's definitely more of a shooter. He had 407 shots. McKinnon had 366, and he missed time, right? Like, McKinnon's shots per game would have been a lot higher because he missed 11 games. He probably would have passed Pasternak if I'm doing the math quickly in my head. And then McDavid was at 352. Brady Tkachuk, and a lot of his shots are right around the crease, right? 347. Jack Hughes, 336. Matthews, 327. Timo Meier, 327. Matthew Tkachuk, 322. Jason Robertson, 313. And Mikko Rantanen, 306. Those are the only players with over 300 shots. 10 of them in the NHL. Or sorry, 10. And then Tage Thompson was 11th at 295. So let's see how many shots. Now, the one guy, because I remember many years ago, people were like, Draisaitl can't score like that. A shooting percentage. Well, it's been like 5 years. Draisaitl doesn't take a ton of shots. He basically had 95 fewer shots than McDavid. Yeah, the 21 shooting percentage. He doesn't waste a lot of shots, does Draisaitl. He knows how to score. So, but McDavid, I don't think you can say that he doesn't shoot much anymore. He's become a big time shooter. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that, he's at 352 this year. If he plays all the games, is he at 360, 370, 375? I won't be surprised at all. Like, they are so driven. I don't believe, because I remember Mark Messier telling the story about Wayne Gretzky and how, they said, wow, when we were up 6-0, Wayne was on the bench and he was just like bloodthirsty to get 7 and 8. He didn't let up. And that's like, you have to have, this is professional sports. It's kind of being ruthless, right? And just be like, you know what? We're not sitting back here. Let's keep pushing. And when they talked to McDavid, Glenn Gollitson told me, I had a conversation with him at the rink, and he asked him how summer was and his daughter and playing her fastball and everything like that. And then we just got into it, and I said, was asking him a few questions about the power play and everything. But the one thing he brought up without me even mentioning it was, he says every player he's talked to, he feels like, is coming in with just a higher commitment. He goes, it's hard to put it into words and explain it, because it's not like they weren't committed before, but just there's a big hunger there. There was a lot of anger, disappointment, frustration in how they lost to Vegas, because I think they truly believe that they beat themselves. And I think that's accurate. They did. They fell apart in the second period in games 5 and game 6. And I don't think you can just flip that switch. If you want to be like a ruthless professional athlete, you need to be it all the time. And if it's October, obviously the playoffs, the intensity rises. And so everything will be heightened, but your level of commitment needs to be similar in October when you just add the emotion of April and May. And I think we've seen that the last few years more from McDavid. And that's why I believe the Edmonton Oilers under McDavid, they're going to want a really good start this season. And I think him and Draisaitl, they believe, hey, we're the leaders. We have to lead in that department. And that means in all facets, not just offensively. So curious to see how it goes. Let's get to Connor Halley and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by BIE Engineering, your structural engineering specialist, whether in the process of a renovation or building a dream home. BIE can help you out. Go to BIEENG.com. Here's Connor Halley.
The Edmonton Elks look to continue their late push for a playoff spot as they're tonight taking on the Rough Riders. Kick off not at 7:30. You can watch that with me down at first round downtown. One other game in the CFL, the Alouettes taking on the Argos. That starts at 5. The Jays looking to get back on track tonight, kicking off the series against the Boston Red Sox. First pitch set for 5:07. Elsewhere around the majors, the Yankees taking on the Pirates, Braves in Miami, Orioles hosting the Rays, the Reds travel to New York to take on the Mets, Guardians host the Rangers, Twins in Chicago to take on the White Sox, the Giants are in Colorado, Angels host the Tigers, Cubbies taking on the Diamondbacks, Padres will battle the Athletics, and the Mariners hosting the LA Dodgers. The AJHL's regular season gets going tonight as the Spruce Grove Saints will host Grand Prairie at Grant Fear Arena across town. Crusaders hosting Fort Mac, both those ones starting at 7 o'clock. The 2-0 U of A Golden Bears football team taking on number 3 ranked University of Saskatchewan tonight at 6 o'clock. This weekend, you got the Huskies down in Calgary taking on the Colts. That one starting at 1. The Wildcats also in action. They'll host the 4-0 Saskatoon Hilltops. That one gets going at 1 as well. Coming up in hour 2 of this show, we'll be joined by Olympic gold medalist Lorianne Munzer, as well as Winnipeg Jets radio analyst Jamie Thomas.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com. Trevor is lonely. Yeah. So Trevor threw a big party and served salad.
Nobody came.
Mike is also lonely.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
So Mike threw a big party and served Will Hawk beef jerky.
Go Will Hawk! Go Will Hawk! Everybody came!
Will Hawk beef jerky. Because you don't win friends with salad.
Will Hawk is the home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
In Leduc, Spruce Grove, and West Edmonton Mall.
Sports betting is now live at playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays in Alberta. Learn more at playalberta.ca.
How do we do it? Well, at Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we invest. Our money and time goes right back into technology and training, and it's all designed to get you back into shape. We invest in people, the people who really care, and they understand how your body works. Then they combine their experience, training, and skills to work with you to help you solve your issues, be it pain in the back, neck, arm, shoulder, heel, literally head to toe. Leading Edge Physiotherapy, always taking new patients because we keep fixing the old ones. Life shouldn't hurt. Find us at leadingedgephysio.com.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
Well, ding ding, the champ is back in the ring, going toe-to-toe with the best flocking chicken wing special in town, only at the Canadian Brew House. A minimum 10 wings ain't no problem for the champ when they're only 69 cents all day Wednesday, all day Sunday. Yeah, pal. 2 days to enjoy an unbeatable offer on wings. With a featured wing flavor of the month every month, Wednesday and Sundays just became a very serious wing thing. Both days, all day, 69 cents only at the Canadian Brew House.
Your old furnace can die in the blink of an eye, so why take that chance this winter? Eric Mikowski here, head of the family at Furnace Family. The time for a new furnace is now. Not only will you have peace of mind on those cold winter nights, you will save money on those super expensive gas bills. Unsure? Furnace Family can come check your furnace, and if you buy a new one from us, the check is free. Daikin has an industry-leading lifetime warranty on their heat exchangers. It could be the last furnace you ever buy. Visit furnacefamily.com. Jingle time.
Done right, day or night, furnacefamily.com.
When it comes to your canola fields, yield is one of your top priorities. To help you maximize it, Invigor Hybrid Canola from BASF offers a full lineup of high-performing hybrids. And new for 2024, every one includes our patented pod shatter reduction technology for unmatched harvest flexibility and exceptional results, which helps take care of your priorities outside the field. Talk to your retailer early to book your Invigor seat.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We've continued developing tools and are excited to announce our newest design, the battery-powered nut runners. 4 models from 500 to 3,000 foot-pounds with more on the way. Learn more at cantork.com.
Positive Friday continues on. How are you? Welcome back to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440. Also, big hello for you watching on Oilers Nation YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you're there. Get in the comments. The con man is always monitoring them, following them, engaged. He's got a few poll questions that he likes to put up. He has the over-under, I think, is a little bit high. Little bit high to put it at 154. Come on.
I mean, that's Declan does the polls.
Wow.
But Declan's an optimistic guy.
Geez,
and he knows how good Connor is.
Yeah,
so.
that's, hey, that's, you know what? And right now it's 68% Oilers fans. Hey, it's Positive Friday. Think positive. I like it. Let's get to our Friday headliner, brought to you by Action Electrical. I was invited to their 50th anniversary celebration last night. So it was 50 years. Don and his wife Grace had started their company, and it was amazing as an entrepreneur listening to them talk about how he started in his basement, and for the first years they had 3 young boys, and so Grace is being a mom upstairs, but then she's also answering the phones. Hello, Action Electrical is in. The kids are running around the house, they're going nuts. It was quite a funny story. They've been married for 56 years, and it was crazy because yesterday was the 31st anniversary of their eldest son Brooks, who passed away when he was hit by a drunk driver. And so they just talked about, and when you look at the statistics of a lot of couples that don't make it through when you lose a child, and they were able to persevere for that. So it was really, really inspiring night. So congratulations to Don and Grace and Blake and everyone at Action Electrical. 50 years going strong, and here's to the next 50. Keep it up. actionelectrical.net if you're looking for a fantastic service from a great company with really good morals. It's actionelectrical.net. As we welcome in Lorianne Munzer, of course, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She is also a co-host Monday mornings on the Kevin Carrier Show. And Lorianne, last week when I had you on, you had mentioned about how you went to the Olympics your first time, and it was at 36 or 39 seconds. I can't remember which one. And you're like, God, I'm coming back and I'm going to win. And so you had a real focus to it, right? And you need to be focused. The Edmonton Oilers, now very different, of course, team sport, individual sport, but the Oilers were heartbroken with their loss to Las Vegas. I think they felt like they were really close. I think they maybe felt like they beat themselves a little bit at times, and that's probably true. So when you come into a new season and you can't win a Stanley Cup in October, it's impossible. Just like you can't win an Olympic gold medal, a year out when you're training as hard as you can, but you can put in these small steps. But how do you balance that when you have a real focus and a goal, but to not be mentally worn out by the time you get there and you can actually achieve it?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of things going through my mind here. There's so many different components to putting a game together, to putting a championship together, putting the playoffs together. But the fundamentals are all the same. And you've got to keep going back to the fundamentals. I mean, the visualization that you spend doing, the mental aspect is huge. At the Olympics, we say it's 95% mental, 5% physical. And that goes across in any game, like football, hockey, any of sports, is what is your mental preparation? There's also the physical preparation. We were just talking off air here about downtime. Mondays were always downtime for me. I would go to work to rest because I got to sit all day, which was really great. It gave my legs a break. But you got to look at it from a 30,000 foot view and go, what are all the components? So it's like a puzzle. And then you got to put them in the right order. And sometimes the order changes. I mean, if you get injured, you have to readjust the training plan. You can't go out on the ice sometimes. You can't, do a lot of the hard shots, or it all depends on what position you're playing. But you've got to look at it and you got to reverse engineer it. So you're reverse engineering the puzzle. Things happen twice, first in your mind, and then it happens on the ice, or it happens in the gym, or it happens on dryland training. So September, you got to go into the game preparing as if it is the playoffs. That's what I believe. You go in as every game, every race is a championship race, a championship game. And you got to be able to adjust on the fly. I have a Moleskine book that I prepared, and I researched the 22 women in 2004 who were competing. And I researched, like, if I was leading the race, how would I beat them? If I was following, how would I pass them? And if things change, then what do I do? And I mean, the ice time, I think, is even more higher level because you've got so many things that can happen. Right. And you never know which one is going to come up. But if you've gone through your mind and you've gone and played through that mental movie, when it happens, you've already done it once. You have an idea of where it's going to go. You talk about Gretzky, right? He was chess man on the ice. He knew where it was going before he got it. Mm-hmm. Connor is like that. And it's a gift, but it's not just for some of the athletes. You can learn it.
How do you learn it?
It's practice. It's a mental muscle. So, I love training with the guys in the gym because they love working the upper body and the biceps, the triceps, chest.
Or do you train with the McEwen brothers from Next Gen? They love the upper body.
Yeah, but the part is you also got to train the legs.
Yes.
And I always found a lot of the guys in the gym, they didn't want to do the legs.
Harder,
like, oh man, the legs are the best part, right? And it's just, you got to go through. You start building a base plan, and then you add it, and then you add a little bit more, and then you rewind the movie and you get it so that you can move through it flawlessly. Like whether you're manned out, there's too many guys are coming at you. What do you do? Where do you go? Right? You're behind the net. And you've got to also work with your senses, like your eyes, your ears, but you also have to go with your gut instinct too, because you're going to get that thought that goes, shoot left when everything is saying shoot right. And you can bounce it, off the boards, or it'll bounce off somebody's stick or their skate. And it's just, you got to go with that inner voice as well. So it's a combination, but you got to practice it. You got to go through it again and again and again and again.
Lorianne Munzer joins us. Lorianne, when you mentioned, you prepare everyone like it's a championship game, how do you not then have mental fatigue if you're doing that over? Because there's 82 regular season games. And then, if you get into the playoff run, by the time you get the Stanley Cup, let's just say on average, it's 20 to 24 games, give or take. That's usually how it is. I think New Jersey had the most at 26, and then the Kings won once with 20 or 18 or something like that, whatever it was. But so that's like 100 and some times. Now, maybe if it's only the game. So are you talking that mental preparation, and how long does it start before a game? Because I kind of chuckle, and I've had a sports psychologist on the show who talks about most people can't mentally focus for that long of a time, right?
Like they can't.
When you were racing, I don't think you were thinking about like, I laugh when goalies are like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We have a game at 7. Oh, I can't talk to the media because it ruins my preparation. I'm like, what? If you're preparing for 9 hours straight, you're probably physically done by the time the game starts.
You are burnt out by then. Yeah. Absolutely. You got to go with distraction therapy. And that for me was music, movies, reading, writing, doing something totally different. I didn't go walking. I didn't go shopping because I wanted to give my legs a rest. I would diffuse that myth because sometimes that is a good thing. And it's taking the mentalness and, oh, I got to do it. And you're expending so much energy because this is totally an energy game as well, right?
So you're used to, so sometimes it's good to mentally fatigue yourself because in the playoffs, you're likely going to be mentally fatigued at some point.
You don't want to go to fatigue because then you're cooked.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You want to be able to pace it. The thing is, a lot of athletes go, well, I have to be on the whole time. No, you don't. You don't. You have to take smaller chunks.
Oh, okay.
I only prepared 5 minutes a day. That's it. Because when I did more, I would cook myself because I would be so focused on it, and then I would be done before I got even to the start line to get on the bike. So you got to figure out what works for you. Is there a high time? Is there a low time? Is there a better time? And it's also a lot of I don't know what the word is. When you put out your intention, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's also setting your intention. Like I set my intention for the day when I get up. I have a ritual. I have a routine that I do. I have a routine that I do before we come here and jump on the call.
Yeah.
Everything I do. And 9 out of 10 times you will have a better result. Yeah. Set your intention, ask for what you want. Sounds crazy. And 9 out of 10 times it'll go really good.
And when you would ask for what you want, Lorianne Munzer joins, it was usually just put forth my best effort because you can't ask for a victory because then nobody wins all the time. It's impossible, right? So I would think if you ask for a victory all the time, now maybe if you're going to the gold medal final, maybe then you might ask for a victory because it's the last one. But, or would you what would you ask
I wasn't
for?
even thinking about that.
Okay.
No. Pre-setting up to it is for hockey is being able to make the passes, being able to put plays, doing the assists, right? Picking the corners in the net. Like where are the holes? Where are the people to pass? Like, who are you passing to? Have you seen it? And that's the thing is when you create it, you've done it multiple times that you don't even have to think about it. You make that maneuver, you deke them out left, then you go right, you shoot, you pass. Maybe you pass behind to a certain extent because you've got that feeling that the other player, your wingman, is coming up.
I don't think I've ever asked a professional athlete this, so I'm intrigued by when you said you would do 5 minutes a day. So can you take us through what that 5 minutes would look like?
Absolutely. First off, I would write out on my notepad, what a flying 200-meter looks like. So that for me is the qualification for seating order to then go into the match sprints. One person leads, one person follows. So they put you in order fastest to slowest.
Okay.
So I would literally write out an oval circle, the inside track, and I would write out my line of where I was going to be, high on the banking, that my arm was like touching the rail or not, where I was going to be using the banking to pick up my speed, where I was going to like blast out, rocket out of the corner. Where is my line? Is it a crooked line? Was it wobbly because I didn't know the track? No, it's like a dead line to the center going into the turn. Then I would like be right on the line so that I'm not too high, but I'm not too low. You got the G forces, so your face is just going like nuts. And you've got a push steer, so like on a motorbike to keep you down with your left arm. And then you're never looking down because if you look down, you're going to like stop. It slows you down. You got to look to where you're going.
Okay.
I'm always looking 10 feet, 20 feet. I'm looking through the finish line.
Yeah.
So I would write that out, but then I would close my eyes and I'd be sitting, feet on the ground, my hands just on my quads. And then I would literally go through it. If I got to a point where my windup wasn't good enough, I wasn't like 2 millimeters from the rail. Like we used to put an old, the white socks the tennis players play. We would cut the foot off, put it on our arm, and we would ride the rail. If you had a gray, black mark,
that means you were close.
You were rubbing the rail.
And you wanted to be rubbing the rail.
For that drill, yes.
Oh, okay.
But when you're competing, if you're rubbing the rail, you're slowing yourself down. So you want to be like a hair off of the rail. Now, so you get so good and you practice that and then you practice it in your mind. So at the Argyle Velodrome, we're outside, so you got the wind coming, and that will like bump you around. So you really got to set your core and set, where am I going? Where am I feeling? You become Luke Skywalker.
I like that. Lorianne Munzer joins us. So now, you work with a lot of people, non-athletes, when it comes to these type of things, right? Like how to maximize your best is like, I know there's other things, but would that be like a simplistic way of saying some of the things? Like every company's different in what they're looking for, but I know you have lots of different clients where you work with them on just trying to maximize their best, correct?
Yes. Yep. It's the mental aspect. It's taking a look at the order, their plays, right? What's your pre-work routine?
Okay.
What's your ritual? What's your routine? You get into work first half, because you got 2 halves, the morning half and the afternoon half. And then what do you do when you exit? So it's broken down into segments and chunks. We look at that, but we're also studying some powerful material to get you thinking.
Yeah.
How can I raise my vibration? How can I raise my thinking? How can I think, on the ice, off the ice, on court, off court? What am I doing? Where is my monkey brain taking me? Can I actually focus? Most people can't focus.
No.
They check out in a meeting, right? It's
Do you have any recommendation? Because I have tried to meditate and I suck at it. So now it's probably one where now it's more mental than anything, because I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get in here. And then it's like, don't have any other thoughts come in your head. And it's like 10 seconds later, all of a sudden I'm thinking like this. I'm like, shut up. Stop thinking. So how do you learn that? Like, what do you do? How do you get past that? I'm sure it's harder than the one answer, but.
Actually, I think it's pretty simple. There's 2 things you could do.
Okay.
You could take a pen or a marker, put a dot on the wall.
Okay.
And you could stare at it, set a timer for, I would start at 1 minute.
Okay.
I wouldn't go more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
There's another exercise that's way more fun, is Google a candle, 5-minute candle. And it's just, if there's sound, turn off the sound and put the candle on your phone and just focus on the candle. Now, it's not a still candle. It's a
flickering, like,
it's
okay.
a lit candle.
Yeah.
You could even do the candle at your
home,
house,
sure.
right? And the thing is, your thoughts are going to be like the candle, where your energy, everything around you is energy, and your thoughts are going to go. And I really like the candle because my thoughts will go, but I'm also watching, but I'm focused on the candle. You have no idea how fast 5 minutes can go just like that. It's like, I'm done. And sometimes it's on the flip side.
You're not really thinking about anything. You're just focusing on making
Focus
sure
on the
I don't
candle.
take my eyes off the candle.
Keep your eye on the candle.
So a child,
Yeah.
that'd be a good exercise to start for kids. Or is that?
I would do the one on the phone,
Yeah.
on the video,
the
yes,
video, okay.
versus a live one.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just, start with a minute.
Yeah.
And if a minute's not working, that's okay. Cut it down, 30 seconds. I had a client who could only do 5 seconds. Beautiful. Good. So we built it up to 15 seconds. He now can hold 5 minutes.
Yeah.
One, there's desire to do it. He wants
wanted
to
do it.
master this.
Yeah.
And it's just, his focus is so much better. He's got a lot of energy. And I know I've got a lot of energy. If I don't expend it, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it. This is great stuff, Lorianne. That's where we're going to have you on every Friday. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend and have fun with KK on Monday.
Absolutely. You too. Take care.
That's Lorianne Munzer, of course, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She's co-host every Monday with Kevin Carius. And, really want to get her on because of her unique perspective in being, one of the greatest in the world at your event, but also just talking about the mental side of sports. I think it's a hugely, hugely important. We'll come back quickly on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And when we return, we continue to go around the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets. Everybody was expecting a busy summer. It didn't really happen. So what now? We'll find out next.
First Round is Edmonton's NFL headquarters. Get in the game and watch NFL football this season at First Round. And you'll have a chance to win a trip to your favorite NFL city to watch a game in person next season. And the hits keep on coming with food and drink specials, big screen TVs, and more. Catch the Pro Bowl brunch every Sunday, Monday Night Football, and head in Thursday for your chance to win an NFL replica helmet. NFL at First Round. Burgers, beer, sports. Downtown West Edmonton Mall and at 1strmd.ca.
Action Electrical is expanding throughout Alberta. With the recent acquisition of Big Hill Electrical
Well, it's a Friday, rolling through a lovely Friday afternoon. It is the Jason Gregor Show. Sports 1440 are coming to you live from the eWell studio, EWEL.ca. Proudly sponsored by your local electrical distributor. Stay tuned for an electrifying show that's going to light up your day. I love it. EWEL.ca. Connor Halley. We have Bret the Hitman Hart. Of course, he's the two-time Intercontinental Champion, two-time WWF Tag Team Champion, two-time WCW Heavyweight Champion, the WWE Hall of Fame, of course, from the Hart Foundation, Stampede Wrestling Hall of Fame. Oh, man, it's going to be fun to have best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Oh, looking forward to that coming up in the next hour. Now, let's go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And when you think best breakfast sandwiches, pretty much putting the McMuffin right at the top, I would think. And right now, you can enjoy the Mighty McMuffin or the Mighty McGriddles with bacon, sausage, egg, cheese, all on a McGriddle or a McMuffin right now at McDonald's. We're joined by a gentleman. Now, I don't know if he was a big fan of wrestling or not. Something tells me he had to be at some point in his life. Everybody's a fan of his hair. Jamie Thomas joins us, beat reporter for the Winnipeg Jets. JT, how you doing, big man?
I'm so good, and I was a huge fan of wrestling. I went to I saw a cage match between King Kong Bundy and Hulk Hogan during Stampede.
Ooh.
That was like 80s. I went to WrestleMania 3 at the Saddledome, but that was in Detroit, Michigan. That was when Hulk body slammed King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
I think it was Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, huge fan. So, and I'm really glad that I get to lead off the show or be in the same show as Bret the Hitman Hart, one of my idols. So I went to Stampede Wrestling all the time, grew up in Calgary. So huge wrestling fan. Huge.
Like Stampede Wrestling. Like there's so much. When you think of Bad News Allen, Duke Myers, Kerry Brown, the Cuban Assassin, Mucka Singh, Gamma Singh, like, my God, Goldie Rogers, and then, of course, the Hart Brothers and Dynamite Kid, Ed Whalen. Like, it was unreal. How, like, I still remember as a kid, my grandfather, who was a man of very few words, but Saturday afternoon, Stampede Wrestling used to be on. It was either 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And I don't recall my grandpa watching much on TV, but he used to watch in his chair. Because you know what? Back then, like, grandpa had his chair. No one else sat in the chair if grandpa was there.
No,
he had his chair. And he used to watch wrestling. And I'd be like, this is amazing. I'm watching wrestling with my grandfather. I thought was like the greatest guy ever. And God, I love Stampede Wrestling. Can't wait to have Hitman on.
Yeah, Grandpa always had the reclining chair too. That like it just all like you could not sit in it. If you were allowed to sit in it, it was the best day ever.
Oh yeah, it's huge. You're just like, oh my goodness, right? And back then, a lot of times there was a blanket on the chair.
Yeah, when he fell asleep, and then when you went to change the channel, Grandpa would always wake up. I was watching that.
Yeah,
like, classic Grandpa.
Awesome. The Winnipeg Jets, of course, a lot of people were expecting a significant summer of moves, but that didn't transpire. They did make two significant ones. Obviously, the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade to LA, and I actually like the pieces they got back in that trade. And then, of course, they buy out Blake Wheeler. People felt like that just his time had run out, more so in the leadership department than it is necessarily as a player department. But he's still a 55-point guy. Like it's hard to replace him and Dubois. So you have Connor, you have Ehlers, you have Scheifele. Is Velarde going to take a step? Like, who else do you see, filling those holes offensively in the top six?
Well, I think Velarde for sure is going to be your top six, but also like this is Cole Perfetti's time to shine, right? There's, Kevin Cheveldayoff mentioned it at the draft in Nashville that they're going to give him a shot up the middle, and Cole has consistently said he likes being up the middle. He has to find a way to stay healthy. So when this opportunity is being presented to himself, it's a great chance, but he's got to stay healthy. He's been, kind of guilty of putting himself in harm's way as a smaller player. I got a great example. He got ran by Nazem Kadri in the preseason. You have to be aware of where players like Nazem Kadri are if you're going to be a player in the top six in the National Hockey League. And I think Cole is slowly learning that. But first and foremost, he's got to stay healthy with this chance because it might not pop up again, right? They might have to go another route or something like that. And, who knows if Mark Scheifele is a Jet at the end of the season and how that depth chart works out. But to answer your question, Gabe Velarde for sure is going to be in your top six. And I think Cole Perfetti will get the first shot at the number 2 center position on this roster.
Hellebuck and Scheifele are both pending UFAs. That's huge question marks. Now, some guys will sign in the final year of their deal. We've seen it. What's your instinct tell you on the probability that those either one or both return?
But I have a better feeling about Mark Scheifele because Mark Scheifele hasn't said anything publicly, at least, that he doesn't want to stay in Winnipeg, right? And I think there's a little more question mark with what Connor Hellebuyck wants to do. And, Kevin Cheveldayoff has been clear about this. They've been in conversation with the representatives and of course, Hellebuyck got to Winnipeg yesterday, I believe, and there was conversations to be had. So it's clear that they're not rebuilding. And Connor Hellebuyck said last year in his media availability, he wants to win a Stanley Cup. They're not rebuilding in Winnipeg right now, as shown by that deal. I think there's a lot more depth up front after that trade. Of course, when you bring in 3 NHL skaters to replace Pierre-Luc Dubois, that's clearly going to help. Defensively, they have depth. So much so that they're going to have some tough decisions coming up about Declan Chisholm and some other players on the blue line. But it really comes down to what Connor Hellebuyck wants to do in the future. So if they do end up trading him, it is my belief, because of the 2 goaltenders they have here, Dominic DiVincentis and Thomas Milic, are a ways away from being in the National Hockey League. You'd like to think that you can get a goaltender back, but man, if trading a 3-time Vezina Trophy finalist leaves a significant hole in your lineup, and that's clearly what Kevin Cheveldayoff has mentioned a couple of times already.
Jamie Thomas joins us talking Winnipeg Jets. And JT, the one thing when I looked at it and I was like, the trade that seemed to make sense for both teams, and obviously there'd be other pieces to it if it was going to happen, because being rumored that maybe Scheifele wanted out, was Scheifele going to Boston and Jeremy Swayman coming to Winnipeg, because then you could trade Hellebuyck because you had a legit goalie to replace him, right? And then you'd move on. And so, because I wonder, do you see almost 2 simultaneous trades? They either both stay right through or they're both going to go, because I think Boston really needs a center. It's obvious they need a center, and they got 2 really good goalies. So there's a good foundation that makes sense for both teams to make a deal there. But then obviously the problem is if you trade Hellebuyck and you look at the history of goalie trades, especially when I know the Oilers gave up a first for Dwayne Rolson and worked well. They went to the Stanley Cup final, but those just don't happen very often, right? Usually you're not getting great value if you're trading a goalie.
No, and that's the problem. And I think from the outside, from a fan's perspective, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff's in a tough position, right? It's a tough place to win that trade if you send Connor Hellebuyck out. That's a tough trade to tell people that happened because of what you're giving up. He's played. The incredible part about him is just he's played so much hockey. But he has dodged the injury bug, and that's where you're looking at it. How, if you're going to give him a deal and you're going to be able to convince him to stay, how long is that deal? How much longer does Connor Hellebuyck have? And then speaking with Wade Flaherty multiple times, the Jets goaltending coach, he asked me, has he ever looked tired to you? I'm like, no, actually, no. When I answer that question, so he's been able to stay healthy. He's been able to play at a high level no matter how many games he plays per season. And then, of course, you throw in Laurent Brossoit in the conversation too as well. But that's a guy that hasn't been able. So say you move out Connor Halley and Laurent Brossoit is there. And yes, he's won a Stanley Cup, but if anybody has had an incredibly challenging time staying healthy. So can you lean on him to be the number one if that situation arises and you don't get a goaltender in a trade somewhere? But I agree with you that Boston-Winnipeg trade seems like a marriage made in heaven, but it almost seems too obvious in some ways. And you wonder if that's really how they can swing this. But again, Kevin Shoveldale has said numerous times, it's two significant holes in your lineup if you trade either Mark Scheifele or Connor Hellebuyck or both.
Jamie, Logan Stanley had supposedly asked for a trade last year. Nothing came about from it. He signed the 1-year deal for $1 million. Does he just want more playing time? Does he deserve more playing time? Does he have to play better to get more playing time?
Yeah, I think it's a little everything you just said there, Jason. And he pointed out when I talked to him in the summertime that he, with the new coaching staff, he really hasn't been able to show what he can do because I think he was out for 19 and 22 games respectively. And by the time he came back from his second injury, you have 6 NHL defensemen there, not Declan Chisholm, but my name is, this is so bad. Dylan Sandberg. Sandberg took a big step forward this year, almost into the top 4. So it's almost like that spot that was there for Logan Stanley disappeared. So he's had a good summer. And we've all, Craig Heisinger, the assistant general manager of the Jets, says consistently, you can't teach size. And Logan Stanley has that. He's got a great reach. And when he's physical, that's what the Jets need, right? And so it's almost like, I feel like this year, when they're playing in Nashville or they're playing a heavier team like the Los Angeles Kings, that's the games where Logan Stanley is going to have to find himself in the lineup and make, some headway to get to Scott Arniel's radar and play more consistently throughout the year. But man, as I talked about a little bit earlier, there's a logjam of NHL defensemen and defensemen behind them. Brick Bonus likes carrying 8 defensemen through the year because of injuries, but it's like Billy Hanel that's kind of on the outside looking in because of this situation. But I think Logan Stanley is the biggest X factor in the blue line for the Jets this year. He has to stay healthy and he has to take a big step to put himself back on the radar with his coaching staff.
Outside of Cole Perfetti, and he's been around, are there any other young forwards you think that might push for a roster spot in Winnipeg?
That's tough, right? It's like Declan Chisholm, who a former fifth round pick of the Jets, signed a 1-year, 2-way deal, but he's not waiver exempt, right? So it's like you could lose. Like last year, they lost Jonathan Kovacevic because and Leon Gavanka wanted out because he just couldn't get into the lineup. So I think Declan Chisholm will push for a little bit. There might be a little bit of a push from Brad Lambert, into the center role, but I just don't think he's shown enough at the pro hockey level that he can stay in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing center at the Young Stars tournament. But buddy, I just feel like, especially when the Jets brought in 3 guys, Rasmus Kupari, Axel Paulo, and Gabe Velarde, they bring in 3 players from Pierre-Luc Dubois. That has pretty much prevented any of the young players outside of Cole Perfetti for having really a legit shot to be with the Winnipeg Jets when the season starts.
And Jets and Oilers will get going at the Young Stars tournament tonight, I think it is. I'm pretty sure they're playing each other tonight, aren't they?
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah.
Hashtag confirmed.
That's right.
Although I got told today hashtags aren't happening anymore by our social media department.
Oh.
They called me a boomer. So I don't know. I won't say they ever that. I won't use
so you're not allowed to use a hashtag. That's passé now?
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
So hashtag passé. Hashtag passé isn't good?
To you and me, yes. And then it's you and me having this conversation. But apparently I can't say that in front of the kids anymore.
Okay,
so,
all right. Well, we're learning something new.
That's why when you work with social media people, that's people to kind of get an idea of what works nowadays.
Yeah, hey, you're always up on the newest trends, JT. That's why we like having you on, man. That's why we like it.
I appreciate you, Pat.
Awesome. Enjoy training camp. I guess what would be when training camp begins next Thursday on ice for the Jets? What is the number one training camp story in Winnipeg?
Oh, it's going to be Scheifele and Hellebuck's futures, right? And they're going to have to address that right off the top. But I think other than that, it's just like moving past what Rick Bowness said in Vegas last year after Game 5, and I think they have. That's going to be brought up, no question about that. That'll be a soundbite for a little bit to kick off training camp. But I think it's just the new guys and how they're going to fit in, and the power play has to be better, buddy. It was under 20% last year, and that's just not good enough if you want to be a contender in the West, certainly in the Western Conference.
Awesome, Jamie. Appreciate your time, buddy. Have a good one.
Congrats on the not so new show, but the show, and I'm glad you guys are back on the air.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. We really appreciate that. Is Jamie Thomas, analyst for the Winnipeg Jets, and quite the storyline, Scheifele and Hellebuck. Like, it's rare. Like, having one is now. I've said this before, though. Lots of guys have gone into the season as in their final year of their contract as big name players for a team, and they re-sign. Like, outside of John Tavares and Alex Pietrangelo, anyone else left? So I don't make too much of it. It's just when there was so much talk, well, geez, they got to do something. Now they did do something. They still traded Dubois. They bought out Wheeler. That's like those in a normal summer, you'd be like, wow, that's two pretty significant moves. But because of that, it's a bigger story. It'd just be like if you fast forward to a year from today and Leon Draisaitl doesn't have a contract, there'll be some people freaking out. I won't be one of them. Because I believe that he will resign. Whether he resigns July next summer or August, or it's not till next November, or even the February of 25, me personally, I don't think it really matters. I could understand why you'd wait. Why wouldn't you? Hey, let's go halfway through the year and just see where the projection for the salary cap's going to be, right? Like, there's lots of things to consider if you really want to, but I would expect him to sign an extension. We'll come back. We'll get to our some picks. We'll get to a little fantasy report and more. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. You can text us 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox. Get involved in the chat at Orders Nation YouTube. We're monitoring that as well. It's the Positive Friday edition of the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Are you ready to light up your game like Edmonton lights up the ice?
Then choose Ewell.
Electrical Wholesalers Edmonton Limited offers lightning fast service. Just like your favorite forward, they deliver your electrical supplies in record time.
Plus winning quality. They only stock the best.
And don't forget about their all-star support. When it comes to customer service, they're the playmakers.
So don't sit in the dark. Make the power play and visit Ewell today. Online at ewel.ca, where excellence in electrical meets the heart of hockey.
At The Brick, we're not just proud of this city and its rich sports history. We're proud partners of it. The Brick started right here in Edmonton over 50 years ago. And when we're not cheering on the Oilers and Oil Kings live at the game, or the Edmonton Elks under the bright stadium lights, we're in our stores, providing everything you need to cheer them on in your home. The Brick, supporting Edmonton sports teams and fans since 1971, saving you more.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high, it's far, it is gone! Walk-off home run!
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio Sports 1440. We'll be dialed in for every minute. Get it done, and then some at Edmonton Kubota. All compact BX tractors on sale with 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by on 128th Ave or visit edmontonkubota.com.
Our cars are our lifeline, and every now and then we need to take care of them too. Cochran's Automotive services your vehicle with pride. When you need to fix it up, bring the whole family fleet. Junior's WRX, Mom's MPV, Dad's 1500, or even Grandpa's old 88. All makes and models are welcome. Trust Cochran's Automotive to professionally repair your family's pride and joy. Beat the heat and let Cochran's Automotive recharge your AC. Call 780-452-5001.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary
Positive Friday. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. As always, the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website. If you choose to gamble, use your game sense. Go to gamesense.ab.ca and learn how to ensure to stay within your limits. You can get involved. Text us 803-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox as we are going to get to the, we're going to call it the Fantasy Report today. Brought to you by Next Gen Transportation, a heavy haul transport provider, 100% locally owned and operated, and proud to support numerous youth sports teams, nextgentransportation.com. And we mentioned fantasy because for many years, our next guest felt like he's coming up a little bit later on that he lived into fantasy. But Connor Halley in the Fantasy Report today, there's a few things to get to. So I first of all, because I know you started him, are you down on Madison? Should Madison owners be like, hey, what are we doing here?
What I will say is that I think that Alexander Madison is going to be at his peak when the Minnesota Vikings take a lead. So when they get the lead, I think they'll run the ball, and that's when he's going to be at his best. He's a conundrum because in the past, whenever he got in there for Dalvin Cook, he would put up great numbers. And now that he's the guy, it's like the spotlight's too bright for him, and he's making mistakes. He's fumbling. He makes a big play, and he gets called back for a hold. I mean, I'm a little bit worried. In one league, I have to start him. Like, there's no doubt about it. He has to start producing. I don't have anyone else. He's my guy. I have another league where Dameon Pierce might slide into that spot because Madison has just let me down now for 2 weeks. It hasn't been good enough. But
how do you have nobody on your bench?
Well, nobody of an option I want to go to.
You didn't draft 3 decent running backs?
I'll have to check my team here and make sure. But the 12-team league, it's not great. It's not great options here. Now, thankfully,
is it a keeper league?
No.
Holy cow!
I have Jaylen Warren.
Who?
Actually, from the Steelers, exactly.
Yeah, I know who it is.
And Jonathan Taylor. I drafted him in the 7th round, actually. So,
you drafted Taylor?
Hey, he's gonna end up somewhere. He's too good.
Sure?
He's too good not to play. And if he doesn't, I'll just drop him. Right now, he's on the IR, so he's not hurting my team.
Yeah, but he's hurting you because you have to dress Madison come hell or high water. You have no other option.
Well, I would have drafted Madison anyways. My depth isn't that great.
No.
I mean, I also have Deion Jackson in Indianapolis, but that's not a great option these days.
Dude.
But, I have Justin Jefferson and Jalen Hurts, so I'm looking good in that league. So that one, yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to bounce back. You got to believe in your guys. It's only 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's fair. But it hasn't looked great early on. This weekend, though, coming up, I do find it interesting how some people after 1 week are like dropping guys who are they drafted in the 3rd and 6th and 7th rounds. And I'm like, dude, it's one game. That's the number one mistake people make is they get emotionally too invested and are just like, oh, this guy had a terrible game. Well, and you know what? Oh, let's go find the shiny toy who kind of came out of nowhere and had one good week. So, but there are some interesting ones like Cincinnati's offensive players. I just think are poised for a bounce back, especially when you consider that the Ravens have 2 of their 4 secondary guys out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback in the league. Like, wherever way you want to look at it, he's going to bounce back. He's going to find his stride eventually. You got the Rams in a couple weeks on Monday night. I know Aaron Donald's a hell of a player and he can disrupt games, but they'll find a way to neutralize him. He's going to bounce back and he's going to find his weapons. They're just too good of an offense not to. Yeah, the biggest thing I think you can do is start to panic after 1 or 2 weeks. That's why Alexander Madison, we don't panic. We're going to use him later on in the season when he starts to find his groove and the Vikings start winning football games. But you don't want to react too quickly, Gregor. And then one of the things to watch out for, those people who probably were a little bit panicked, Travis Kelce, he's going to return to the lineup this week. A couple other guys question, CJ Stroud, you're probably not starting him, but maybe you're in a super league or you've got a 2-quarterback league and you might have him out there. He's questionable, as is Aaron Jones and Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers. So A.J. Dillon, maybe fantasy owners might want to get him out there. Yeah, you could have Romeo Doubs for the Green Bay Packers. He could become an option that might be a little bit better with Watson out. There's a couple injury things to watch out for here. Well, and Austin Eckler doubtful now.
Doubtful?
Yeah.
So Josh Kelly likely going to get the start for them. So yeah, Eckler, week 2, he's out for me. So that's not it's not ideal, but I still got some depth. I'll put in the third this weekend out of Seattle. So I think he'll be a little Kenneth Walker.
That's a nice third. Yeah.
He'll be all right. So, no. I'm still contemplating Pacheco too. Kansas's offense. I think Kelsey will just make everybody better. If he gets back in the lineup, every defensive, they're just going to be double teaming him everywhere they can. I think it might open up some other things. So we'll see. But there are some interesting ones to look at, Cons, from a defensive perspective. When I look right now, and honestly, the most exciting offense in the league might be the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, 100%. They're defensively, they're going to give up points. If you're playing the Dolphins, I think starting the running back's always good. But we talked about it quite a bit. Tyreek Hill and the way McDaniels is scheming him up. He's in motion. He's everywhere. If you play zone defense, you might have a chance to slow them down, but there's still opportunities. If you go man on man with Tyreek Hill, it's game over. He's running parallel to the line of scrimmage. And as soon as the ball snapped, like I said, he's already going 60, 70% of his speed. And then he turns it on. I mean, unless you're already in your back pedal, how do you stop that? And then if you are in your back pedal, he's a good route runner, so he'll break it off and kill you other ways. It's just such a dynamic offense. I don't know how much stock you want to put into the run game. Maybe at some point they start to get that going a little bit. But Jalen Waddle, he's another player that's going to eventually bust out with some big plays when you start to maybe overcompensate for Tyreek Hill. That Dolphins offense is so fun to watch, unless you're a fan of the team going up against them. And Tua Tagovailoa, like I said, missed a couple deep throws last week against the Chargers. If he does that, he might have thrown for 600 yards through the air. He has his limitations throwing the ball deep, but decision making and accuracy wise, he's pretty dang good.
What do you see when you see the Bears offense this weekend against Tampa Bay?
I mean, Tampa does have some injuries in their lineup. When you look at the line, I kind of at every level actually. Carlton Davis with the toe. Kalijah Kancey, their first round pick from the draft. It looks like he's going to be out with a calf injury. So I think that the Bears' best bet is to get Justin Fields running around, moving him outside the pocket, just trying to keep the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their toes. I would think they're going to have a little bit more success than they did last week. Justin Fields is just too dynamic. He's got to get out of the pocket and make some plays with his feet, try to get that secondary to come up a little bit closer and press on these receivers and let them try to make some plays downfield. Chase Claypool, I don't know what the plan is for him, Gregor. I don't know if you saw that viral video going out of him with the laziest routes we've ever seen, lazy blocking. But maybe you get Justin Fields out. DJ Moore can get open downfield and put up some decent numbers there. I don't know if you want to rely on Justin Fields right now, though. There might be some questions.
Yeah, I still think Justin Fields could just have one of those days where suddenly he has 100 rushing yards, and now that's opening up the passing game. There are a few other ones. The health of Aaron Jones with his hamstring in Green Bay could impact a lot of people, whether they're him or you're going to put in Dylan. All right, running the ball. You talked about Eckler as he's somebody who's out. The Ravens offense. A, is Mark Andrews going to be ready? But B, they got two of their starting 5 offensive linemen out, and they mentioned the 2 corner guys and safety that are out. Like Lamar Jackson against Cincinnati, he's going to have to be all world and maybe their running game, because I don't know what their pass protection is going to be like when they're going down now to their 6th and 7th O-line.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie Staley, very good tackle in the NFL. Their center, Tyler Linderbaum, I think first-round pick last year out of Iowa, obviously an ankle injury. Those are the ones you have to worry about. And we saw that last night for the Minnesota Vikings with Christian Darrisaw and the ankle. When those big guys have the lower body injury, edge rushers are ready to go. You want to beat them with those speed moves, and that can create trouble. I think Lamar Jackson, with his mobility and pocket awareness, can elude guys. He can make some plays, wait for that secondary to kind of break down, and then he's got Zay Flowers, he's got Bateman, he's got Odell Beckham potentially, and Mark Andrews if he's able to go. But what I do like about that Ravens offense and a guy like Zay Flowers, we saw it last week, you can target him a lot, and he's just a guy that you get the ball in his hands. It doesn't have to necessarily be routes that develop 10 yards downfield. It can be a screen, it can be an end around, could be a quick slant, a drag, one of those types of routes. And once you get the ball in his hands, he's Mr. Yak. He makes plays after the catch. So I think the Ravens will have a good game plan going into this one. And similar to what you said about Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson at any point can bust a big run and end the day with 100 yards on the ground. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I believe the Ravens' track record against Joe Burrow and the Bengals isn't good, but hey, that's okay. They can lose and you can still have a good fantasy game.
As a fantasy report brought to you by nextgentransportation.com. Coming up in the next hour, the excellence of execution. Best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart will join us. Also, Wanye Gretz will be by. Whew. How exciting is he to chat with the Hitman? So very much looking forward to that. Of course, the legend of Stampede Wrestling and WWE, WCW. Man, oh, what a career. So we are going to, I'll be honest, we're going to talk a lot of Stampede Wrestling. We're going to go a little bit old school with Bret the Hitman Hart and a few other things. So should be an exciting time. Let's get to Connor Halley and a Sports Center update brought to you by Roger Weert and his team at Weert, Pearson, Akel and Associates Private Wealth Management, helping business owners and professionals build, protect, and enjoy their wealth. Earn more and call Roger and his team right now at 988-4119. Here is Connor Halley.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.
The Elks look to continue their late push for a playoff spot as they're in Regina taking on the Rough Riders. Kickoff at 7:30. You can join me at the first round's downtown location for the Elks watch party in that one. One other game, the CFL, the Alouettes take on the Argos. That gets going in just about an hour. The Toronto Blue Jays will look to get back on track tonight, kicking off a series against the Boston Red Sox. First pitch, 5:07. Elsewhere, the Yankees in Pittsburgh. Marlins hosting the Braves. Rays took on the Orioles. The Reds travel to New York to take on the Mets. White Sox host the Twins. Astros in Kansas City. Rockies host the Giants. Tigers in Anaheim. And you will have the Mariners hosting the LA Dodgers. The AHL's regular season gets going tonight. Spruce Grove will host Grand Prairie out at the Grant Pier Arena across town. Crusaders hosting Fort Mac. Both those games start at 7 o'clock. The 2-0 University of Alberta Golden Bears football team in action, taking on number 3 ranked University of Saskatchewan. That one starting at 6. And over the weekend, the Huskies in Calgary taking on the Colts. That one gets going at 1. Also at 1, the Wildcats will be in action hosting the 4-0 Saskatoon Hilltops. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host Wanye Gretz. We'll also hear from a WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart, and we'll ask 5 questions.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports betting is now live at playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays in Alberta. Learn more at playalberta.ca.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Sipping gin and juice, just trying to stay cool. And I'm sweating buckets bigger than a swimming pool. Cruise to Heritage Mall to enjoy some AC. Then my shorty hears the homies from Legacy. I say, listen, yo, where we gonna get the dough to pay Legacy from the radio? She says, Legacy Heating's got a deal that's the bomb with no interest or payments flipping all year long. No money, no problems, that's the life that I choose. Chillaxing with thousands of BTU. Doing whatever the heck that was. That's how you build a legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
It's a triumphant return to the airwaves. Hi, I'm Colin from Cantork, and this is a great call. Cantork proudly continues our partnership with Jason Gregor, eagerly rejoining his team on Sports 1440.
Hey world, get ready to believe. At Oodle Noodle, we serve up world-class, worldwide flavors in our sweet, saucy, and fiery noodles. We believe in the power of nudes. We've got everything from saucy mac and cheese to sizzling pad thai to so many other unbelievable dishes sure to make you a noodle convert for life. You've got to taste them to believe it. Don't be a skeptic. The proof is in the noodles. Check us out at oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle. We believe in noodles.
Thinking
Talking about solar power, Action Electrical wants to eliminate your entire home or business power bill and keep more cash in your pocket. With effective paybacks in 5 to 9 years, give solar a chance with Action and put your lazy roof to work. Alberta is the second highest province for the amount of full sunlight hours, and with system life exceeding 25 years, solar power is like a McDavid draft pick. Still have questions about solar power? Contact the professionals at actionelectrical.net today. That's actionelectrical.net.
A solid financial plan is made up of more than just investments. Investments are an important part, but you need a more comprehensive approach. Vincent Pearson at Weird Pearson Akel & Associates Private Wealth Management understands that. He can help build a plan that includes retirement, estate planning, personal insurance, tax strategies, and yes, investments. Talk to him today and see the difference a real financial plan makes. Weird Pearson Akel & Associates. Call 780-988-4119 or visit weirdadvisoryteam.com.
For the first time ever in Edmonton, the Louis Garneau Factory VIP Sale, downtown Edmonton City Center, starting today through Sunday. Save up to 50% off clothing, helmets, shoes, bikes, snowshoes, and accessories. Plus, you could win your purchase. Up to 50% off clothing, helmets, shoes, bikes, snowshoes, and accessories. Edmonton City Center, today 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 9 till 4. Details on Facebook at Louis Garneau Factory VIP Sale, Edmonton.
At Toyota, we build quality trucks with you in mind. Because everyone loves a friend with a truck, especially a Toyota, winner of the Canadian Black Book Award for Best Residual Value. So when that inevitable ring-a-ding-ding for help comes, you're there, rolling up in an award-winning truck because you're an award-worthy friend. It's time to lift with your legs. It's time to Toyota. Order a 2023 Tundra 4x4 Double Cab SR5 starting from $59,101. Price includes additional fees, taxes extra. Hybrid also available. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer today.
Ready! Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Come into Jiffy Lube for a Pennzoil Platinum full synthetic oil change and receive a $20 digital gift card to one of over 30 merchants, such as Starbucks or Tim Hortons. For a location near you, visit jiffylubeservice.ca. Jiffy Lube, keeping you moving.
Halfway through Positive Friday on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, your place for sports. And we're expanding. We have more sports coverage coming likely by the end of the month. Also, and hey, we got some new signs that came in. Nice. The eWell Studios, as you see, a nice little eWell behind us. Nice. So, things are coming every day. A few new little additions to the show. I like it. Like it a lot. Gregor Show is always brought to you by PlayAlberta.ca, where yesterday. So I had the Giants game, and then they eliminated that game. And so we won because we picked Tampa to defeat Baltimore, and we had Philly over the Vikings. So, and Addison with the over 42.5 yards. So nice. Need to get on the board. Got to make some money for the kids at Kidsport. We do a $20 wager. And hey, by the way, shout out to Steve, who came in with the he felt that Tampa was a good one. Steve, the kids owe you. I like it. So any of you have one that you're high on, text in to 833-401-1440, and you could help the kids. So I like it. Hey, Greg's, why are you doing cons dirty like that? Having 3 solid running backs, 12-team league is a massive challenge with how many running back by committees there are in today's NFL. Yeah, well, so that would be 36. And if there's 32 teams, right? Lots of teams have 2. At least you should have somebody. Like Cons, by the sounds of it, has nobody. He doesn't even know his team now. Like, I can't believe this. How do you not know your team?
I'm a casual until it matters. Week 1, week 2.
God, it's embarrassing.
When you go to the finals in both your leagues, for so long, you don't worry till it matters. So ETN, Madison.
I like Etienne. That's a good pick.
I've got Jamal Williams. See, he was my guy for 4 weeks because when Kamara comes back, that's when I'll get Jonathan Taylor back. And in my perfect utopia of fantasy football world, everyone's happy.
Why does Kamara, what does that have to do with Jonathan Taylor?
Jamal Williams in New Orleans. So I have Jamal Williams for the first 4 weeks.
Oh, and then
when Kamara comes back,
I
split Jamal out and I put Jonathan Taylor in.
Oh, because you're assuming Taylor's by then going to be playing.
Yeah, and he'll regain his form from 2 years ago.
You think in 2 weeks he's going to be playing?
Well, you got to believe. You got to believe in something.
Yeah, well, there you go. Hey, that's true. Without faith, what do you have? What do you have? I know our next guest. I think he has a lot of faith.
Filled with faith.
I'm not sure. Faith in his hockey team.
Yeah.
Faith in his businesses. As
Sure.
we welcome in our Friday co-host Wanye Gretz from Oilers Nation. Wanye,
Thank
how
you
doing?
very much. There's a lot of positive reinforcement last week. People said that was funny. I was listening. The radio station, I could find it on the AM dial. It all worked great. So I'm back. Any complaints? I'm out. Too thin-skinned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, do you want me to read the
I
text
can't
line?
take any criticism whatsoever. I'm warning you in advance. Not this early in the season.
Okay.
Early in the training camp. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, but if you're still in training camp, then you got to learn from your mistakes.
I guess I'm thin-skinned. I'm warning you right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can ignore people on the internet. You just don't look at your phone. But when you're here and you hear it, people are calling you.
You know what? If we get bad texts, I just won't read them.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I just won't read them to you. Like Connor and I will share
Sure,
them.
and you'll giggle.
Yeah.
But I don't have to play along.
Yeah, no.
That's perfect.
You'll be like, what are you guys laughing at? We'll be like, oh, nothing, just this video of dogs.
Yeah, completely unrelated.
Playing with cats.
I'm floored that we're talking to the Hitman today. Like, I am not qualified to speak to a man of this legendary status.
Were you a wrestling guy growing up?
No, and not Stampede either. Like, this is just going to be.
Like, you never watched wrestling?
Not to any great degree.
Really?
Not
But you
really.
obviously know who the Hitman is.
I know who he is. I know that the
Jeez.
Hitman are named after him, though.
How
I know
did
him in
you-
a hockey context.
Like a guy who's so much into fantasy, how could you not like wrestling? I'm floored by this.
I don't know. It just really wasn't. Wrestling's gotten a lot bigger in the past 20 years. You have to admit, like when we were little kids, I didn't find like it was on quite.
Well,
as much.
Stampede Wrestling is what I grew up on. And then when we moved into Leduc, because obviously growing up on the farm, we didn't have cable. So
Right.
I remember moving to Leduc, and I probably was about 12 when I realized wrestling used to come on at midnight on Saturdays on CBS. And so, but I was by 13, and there'd be the odd time where I'd say I was going to bed, and then my parents would go upstairs, and I would sneak out and I would watch wrestling. And maybe it was 11 o'clock or midnight. Somebody out there probably knows. And I remember that's when I saw The Ultimate Warrior. And The Ultimate Warrior became like my favorite wrestler. Like his entrance when he's coming to the ring and he's sprinting in there. He's going bananas. He's shaking the ropes all the time and his face painted. God, I loved him. Wrestling was like, I knew that it wasn't real, right? Like, but it didn't bother me. Like I was like that, but I was naive enough to know like how much of it wasn't real, because Stampede Wrestling, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, like those bastards, like some of the Cuban Assassin, I hate him at first, because he was such a cheater. And as a kid, what do your parents tell you? Like, you don't cheat. And the Cuban's Assassins, he's pulling out something out of his green pants, right? And Ed Whalen's losing his marbles. And that's what made it so good, was Ed Whalen on Stampede. Like, he would get so mad and it would make you believe that he was literally that upset. It was amazing.
Real, though, I don't like that argument. Like, that's basically
It's
dismissive.
It's scripted. That's right. It's scripted. The actual moves are all real. Like when guys are flying off the turnbuckle, they're flipping over the shoulder, body slams. Like that stuff's legit.
Do I think
Very
that
fair.
Robert Downey Jr. is actually Iron Man? No, but I can still be entertained by the movie. It's still quality work, right? I don't think that the argument wrestling isn't real. I don't find that
scripted
valid.
is a much better. It's very fair.
It still takes an enormous amount of athletic talent. They
dude.
still take a beating. They still get injured all the time.
Yeah.
Right. If it was like CGI and fake, they wouldn't suffer these horrific injuries.
Yeah. The biggest difference in wrestling was early on, it was 90% wrestling, 5 to 10% on the mic. Right. But that's really evolved now. Now, I'll be honest, I don't watch today's wrestling as much. So somebody out there, or cons, I don't know if they watch it. Like, is it as much on the mic? Like The Rock came in and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and like those guys would sometimes spend 10, 15 minutes on the mic, and like that was the entertainment, which is totally fine. And that's what made The Rock a massive movie star, because he had such charisma and such personality. And obviously the guy's a freak of nature. Like he's in shape all the time, and he's eating 8 pounds of fish every day and everything healthy, and that's fine. But Yeah, it'll be unique to have the Hitman on.
Unbelievable.
It's had quite the career.
And he was on The Simpsons. And again, not very cool, but that really impresses me. Like, if you've been on The Simpsons.
Oh, dude, that means you've made it.
Yeah, you have made it.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
well, we will talk to, because I've never actually, because the one thing, and I know we've had people text in, we're not talking about Jim McMahon, because that's been discussed a million times over. So we're not going to do it. Right? You can Google hundreds of interviews online with Bret talking about the screw job. Everybody knows what happened. He's voiced his opinion on. I don't want to bring him on and ask him about it again, because I just don't think that we're not going to learn anything new.
I'm nodding, but I have no earthly idea what you're talking about. I'm like, oh yeah,
the big screw
the
job,
screwdriver.
Vince McMahon.
Of course, that incident.
Yes, that was rather.
Oh dear,
it was rather big.
But been on Simpsons. That's
big. Like, I can't believe that you just weren't a big Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man fan. Like, because you like to roll around with your chains,
cool,
with dollar signs and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, there's probably somebody that speaks to me. It just wasn't really a thing when I was little. I don't know.
That's all right, because now there is one thing, because I always like the listeners to get to know who are our co-hosts a little bit outside of their sports takes and stuff. And what people might not know is that Wanye is a massive rap fan.
That's true.
Like, huge rap fan. So, like, who's your top few rap artists
of all time?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about this the other day. I think if you're Canadian, especially, you have to say at this point that Drake is the #1 rapper of all time. And it is incredibly unlikely for someone to go from Degrassi to being the #1 anything. Remember Joey Jeremiah and his band?
Joey,
imagine that had turned into Metallica. Like, that's how unlikely Drake being an amazing rapper is. And yet he's kept it real, and he still shouts out Degrassi. He recently did a video where he brought all the Degrassi people back.
Yeah.
Present day. Remember Snake?
Yes.
Snake is in a Drake video.
And Wheels?
Wheels, I don't know where he was. He was either too big of a deal, or they couldn't
actually,
find him.
Now, maybe I'm wrong. Someone said, I thought Wheels passed away. I could be wrong on that. I got to look that up.
Well, okay.
So, because I know one of the members died.
Well, Pat Mastriani, I believe, is still with us. But that's a gangster play to own your story so much that you recreate Degrassi for a video for all your fans around the world who didn't know you started out as Wheelchair Jimmy.
Neil Hope was his name, and I was correct. Yes, he did pass away. So
that's got to be my top rapper. I don't know, Gregor. I know that you're familiar at least with what the streets are listening to these days. You could see the value of putting Drake at #1 over, say, like a Jay-Z or somebody like that that's not Canadian.
Yeah. See, it's funny. Like, I guess, like, the rap that I grew up to, Drake's songs are very different for me. Like, he's almost more like R&B a little bit for me than, like, when I think of rap, I'm going way back, like, NWA and those type of bands and stuff, or groups, I should say, right? The Beastie Boys and different things like that. So very different genre. Like, it's the same, but it's just evolved, right? Like, country music 40-30 years ago is different than country music today.
They just had this is the 50th year of hip hop, if you can believe it, this year.
Oh, it's amazing.
And when it originally came out, they didn't expect it to last very long. They thought it was going to be a phase. And then 50 years later, it's still the most popular genre of music in the world. That's amazing.
So if you could go to one artist in concert.
Well, I was really lucky. I got to go to a concert. It was the 15th anniversary of the Source Awards in New York. And the Source Awards were crazy. There was a fight originally. It was this huge thing. And they brought everybody back together years later. And they say it's one of the top rap concerts ever. Snoop Dogg was there with everybody from the West Coast. Puff Daddy was there with everybody from the East Coast. And I probably saw 40 or 50 different rap artists perform. Yeah, in one show. And it was back in Madison Square Gardens in New York as like an anniversary of the Source Awards. And when I left there, like, I went to New York to see this concert solo. That's how much I love rap. When I left, everybody was like, that's probably the best concert any of us are ever going to see. And we were all nodding on their way out, just because Dr. Dre had just sold to Apple. He sold his headphones company for billions of dollars. He's there. Eminem's there. Everybody was there. It was phenomenal. So that's the best rap concert of all time. And I don't expect to break it ever.
Was there anybody in the concert that blew your mind?
Puff Daddy.
Oh,
Puff Daddy's cool. He was supposed to come to Edmonton, and he didn't get across the border, and he said he'd be back, and he never came back. So if you want to go see Puff Daddy, you got to go to the States. That was a real bucket list for me.
Okay, well, there you go. When we will get to a lot of hockey talk. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Like a little introduction. But when we return, Bret the Hitman Hart, live on Sports 1440, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk, family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Paired with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
How exciting is it to have Sports Talk Radio back in Edmonton?
Tie game, bottom of the ninth with a full count. The kick, the pitch. It's high, it's far, it is gone! Walk-off home run!
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Edmonton Kubota is excited to welcome back Sports Talk Radio Sports 1440. We'll be dialed in for every minute. Get it done, and then some at Edmonton Kubota. All compact BX tractors on sale with 0% financing for 84 months. Stop by on 128th Ave or visit edmontonkubota.com.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here from Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton. PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Denim Ford's roots run deep in the history of Central Alberta. Like always, you can experience the same honest pricing and honest service that you've come to expect from all of us at Denim Ford for the past 65 years. Denim Ford is proud to be Canada's only 50-time President Award-winning dealership in customer satisfaction, treating every customer like family. Visit Denim Ford on the world-famous Wetaskiwin Auto Mile or from home at denimford.ca.
Cars cost less than Wetaskiwin.
There's nothing like having a little skin in the game to make things interesting. But when a little skin becomes more than you can afford to lose, it's time to take a break from sports betting. Set a budget and stick to it. If you gamble, use your game sense.
Every Wendy's meal could use something a little crispy, dippy, and made with 100% all-white seasoned chicken. So next time, add a 6-piece of crispy chicken nuggets to your Wendy's order for just $3.49. You won't regret it. Taxes extra. Price and participation may vary.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king of the ring, Bret the Hitman Hart! The pink and black attack, here it comes! And listen to this reception! What a following this youngster has!
There's nobody that can stop the Hitman. The Hitman, Bret Hart, has just about done it all. Excellence of execution. 2-time co-holder of the Tag Team Championship. 2-time holder of the Intercontinental Championship. And of course, he did it! We've seen history made. A new World Wrestling Federation champion. I am the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Bret the Hitman Hart is our big guest of the day today, brought to you by
the biggest dreams.
Still your tickets at sprucegrovesaints.ca. And this is an absolute, like, we've had a lot of big name athletes on the show over the years, but I got to tell you, this is a real treat for me because I grew up a huge fan of Stampede Wrestling, watching with my dad and my brother. But really, when my grandfather was, who I never saw watch TV, but Saturdays, he would sit in his chair and he would turn on Stampede Wrestling. And I was just like, now this is legit. Even Grandpa's watching Stampede Wrestling on Saturday afternoons. Bret, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing excellent. Having a great summer.
Oh, well, that's awesome, Bret. We're really thrilled to have you, Jason Gregor, alongside Wanye Gretz. And, I really want to start going back because, for me, like where I remember Bret Hart first, of course, was all those matches against the Dynamite Kid in Stampede Wrestling. And, you were born into a wrestling family. Lots of your brothers were wrestling. Obviously, your dad, Stu, it was huge. And so was this always destined for you? Because I know you were taking filmmaking studies for a bit, but was wrestling something that always just, that was the pull you had in your life and that's what you wanted to do always?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily even want to do it always. It was, but I do think it was something I was destined for. Like, I just don't think I realized it. I really think I watched a lot of wrestling as a kid. And I think by the time I became a teenager, without realizing it, I think I'd fully studied and understood professional wrestling. Best of all, I understood it from being a fan, like from what I liked about wrestling, about how I liked wrestling to be my wrestling to always pretend to be real. Anyway, it was always, I think that was what made wrestling especially fun in those days was that it always pretended to be so real. Even Ed Whalen, who would poke fun at it all the way through the show, but at the same time, when there were serious things happening, he was as upset as anybody. He played it very real.
Oh, he used to freak out at the Cuban Assassin all the time from pulling something out of his pants. I was dying. It was so awesome. So when you grew up, like, who were your wrestling idols that you watched and you were like, okay, that's the wrestling I like?
Oh, for sure, the guys that stood out in my mind were the bad guys that wrestled for my dad through the 70s and the 60s. Archie the Stomper Goldie, who's somebody they kind of forget, and no one kind of rates him that much anymore, and maybe rightfully so. But in reality, he was so good up here in Calgary. I don't think anyone realized anywhere else how good Archie the Stomper was, and what an amazing, unbelievable villain he was, and what a talker. He was one of those guys that, unfortunately, I don't think he was very smart, and he didn't like cutting interviews in the States, so he always hired somebody else to be his manager. He always the only thing he was famous for in the States was being the Mongolian stuff, where he didn't talk. But in Calgary, where he was basically from up here, he would talk, and he was such a masterful talker. I would put him right up there with Steve Austin or somebody. He was such a great talker, way ahead of his time, and just so serious. But Abdullah the Butcher was another guy that people don't rate much today. But what a villain, and what an amazing athlete and wrestler back when he was working for my dad. Anyway, I can remember him dropping elbow drops and doing stuff in the ring that he was like as agile as a cat, and he was such an amazing villain, and he was so scary. I don't think any wrestler there's no wrestler that comes to mind, not Andre the Giant, nobody that was as scary as Abdullah the Butcher was. And I just I really appreciated some of the great workers that my dad had. Dynamite Kid was a great wrestler, and like you said, if you got a chance to watch him growing up, and you got to watch one of the real trendsetters, the guy that really changed the business and made it a better business.
Bret the Hitman Hart joins us. So, Bret, you're in Stampede Wrestling. I think you were there for 8 or 9 years, and then you moved on to WWE, which is now, of course, WWF. Talk about that transition for you. Was it an easy move? Was it difficult, or was that just you had to go there because wrestling was growing so much in the U.S. and obviously Vince McMahon and what they did, they took it to kind of a new level?
Well, no, I think to be honest, that I worked for my dad 6 years, and when my dad was, I think my dad was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. I think the whole Stampede Wrestling, if you really look at it, is Monday Night Raw. It's 3 hours on Monday Night Raw. But the whole idea of a live telecast with live interviews interspersed with wrestling matches.
Yeah.
That's Stampede Wrestling in an hour format.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what Vince did for Monday Night Raw. He brought live wrestling with the whole format that was really just 3 hours of Stampede Wrestling, and was the key. And Vince is a really smart, ahead of his time promoter too. The Stampede Wrestling was really special. I really think when the British Bulldogs went to WWF back in 1986. Or 85, I guess it would have been around WrestleMania, right after WrestleMania 1. They really changed. If you watch just watch WrestleMania 1 and watch how they wrestled, and then you watch how they wrestled at WrestleMania 2, you can see such a difference in the wrestlers, how they're moving so much faster, and the speed and the impact and the style of wrestling changes so much. And that's the British Bulldogs, and that's Dynamite Kid, especially. Really lit a fire under everybody down there and kind of got everybody moving a lot faster. Even guys like Hogan had to pick it up a little bit because the Bulldogs would go on first and just blow the whole building away with some of the stuff they would do.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody would top it. It didn't matter who went out there after that. And it was like, after a while, it was like you just saw all these wrestlers working way harder and going way faster, and instead of sitting in there in these holds for long stretches of time like they used to back in those old days, you saw these guys picking it up and start moving. And that's kind of, if you watch wrestling through the, in my opinion, through all through the 80s and the old WWF period, it goes a little faster all the time. Wrestling starts to move a little faster. And I think the Bulldogs had a lot to do with that. And I think I had a lot to do with that. My brother Owen had a lot to do with that. And, so on all the way down the line. I think we had a lot to do with the whole way wrestling's going today. The fact that they're moving so fast, moving so, doing so much in the ring these days.
Bret the Hitman Hart joins us. So Bret, take me back. There's Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid and Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Bret Hart. Were you guys just training all the time together behind the scenes, and all of you are just making each other better? How many hours, to become one of the best in the world? How did you improve your skill set so much?
Well, the Stampede Wrestling really was a family business. That was my dad's business. And he eventually sold his business to WWF, or to Vince McMahon, which he never got paid for, but the deal was made, and I was part of that deal. So I got signed on. The truth is I worked really hard for my dad. I was not the most colorful guy. I don't think I fully had my confidence about myself. I didn't think of myself as a superstar, world-class pro wrestler yet. Although I think I was, mostly because I was able to sharpen up. Dynamite Kid was basically my my dance partner for almost 6 years in Stampede Wrestling. And so I really was a really skilled wrestler in my own right. And it just took me a little while to get my break. The Bulldogs had the big break way before me, which is just timing. They had the big break when they first came to WWF. And unfortunately, Dynamite got injured, and then, whatever happened for them. I think Davey, unfortunately, was always more of a tag team guy with Dynamite. And I don't know that singles were always his cup of tea. But for me, I did 6 years with Jimmy Anvil. And, I really... I loved the days I had with Jimmy Anvil Neidhart. We had so much fun together, and he was such a great partner and such a great friend. And we had so many great moments and funny memories. And every day I can stop and think about something funny with Jim Neidhart. But he just was such a great character and such a great friend that, I really loved those years that I was with Jim. They're really special for me. And, I think I just started eventually becoming a big enough star that it was time for me to go by myself. And, I don't know how, to say that, I was a big star when I became world champion and at the height of my fame and stuff. But it seems today there's even a deeper sort of recognition and appreciation for not just the way I wrestled, but just the way the old Stampede Wrestling wrestlers worked, like Dynamite and so many others. But we just, and Jim and Davey and Owen, we all brought a lot of. I think when you watch wrestling today and you see all these wrestlers doing those, and they slap their leg and kick each other and stuff. That's my brother Owen started all that stuff. I wish he never had. It's like, we had such an influence on where the business is today that I think even my dad is really proud, and I'm proud, and I'm sure Owen is. Just what kind of influence we left on a profession that we did love.
So, Bret, you mentioned how, the Bulldogs got their break right away and you kind of had to wait for yours, and then you built up, and like you went from being a great star to like one of the superstars in W. Like you were one of the most well-known wrestlers, very successful. Was there a moment that was your breakout moment, or was it just a progressive climb for you?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I think on the sly or like inside the dressing room, a lot of the wrestlers would have told you a long time ago that I was the best in the world, that I was the best. Like, they all liked watching me the most. Like Macho Man and guys that really counted always praised my work and wished they could work with me. And, it just was, I had a lot of praise as a worker way before I got the world title, but the thought was that I was never, what I got always painted with was this, that I didn't have any box office, that I couldn't sell tickets and I couldn't draw money, and which was never fair, never true. I used to always go, it's not really, they never put me in a situation where I really had any kind of momentum or had any kind of empathy or sympathy or anything, especially as a babyface. And anyway, I think I proved that theory wrong. It just took a little while, but winning the world title really was the stamp on it. That was like when I could officially say to all my critics and all my naysayers and people that didn't think I was good enough, or they didn't believe in me, or a lot of guys didn't think I was good enough. And it's like, all I can say is that today I think you can look back on almost every match, even going back to Stampede Wrestling, and I never had a bad match. I never had a stink out match where it's like, geez, that was terrible, or everything looked really bad. I always, whenever I see almost anything that I did, and especially in WWF, TV matches, 4-minute match on a Saturday afternoon that you forgot all about, that's 30, 40 years ago or 50 years ago. They're really good. We were always good. We were always really tight. I really prided myself on just looking as believable, making people believe it was real. Right to the giving somebody a finger in the front row and all that stuff. I was very intense and very, and it shows. I mean, I remember days fighting our way back to the dressing room and going, "Holy crap! We got him really mad tonight." That it was like. It was such a fun job to be a great bad guy, and we had so much fun being great bad guys that it was almost scary at times fighting our way back to the dressing room in the early WWF days. It was we earned our stripes as bad guys for sure. And being a good guy was a whole different thing. Once I became a good guy, I was really fortunate that I was always seen as somebody that was. Even as a bad guy, I was seen as somebody that was cool. So then as a good guy, I became cool. And, I ended up building a fan base with kids that were quite young and that they grew up all their lives and were forever fans of mine. Like that. I was privileged to have a lot of kids let me be their hero for their whole lifetime. And, so I had a big footprint on a lot of, influenced a lot of young men and women, and the young people that really loved me and loved what I stood for. And so, I took a lot of pride in that, and I sort of understood that and appreciated that. So I always try to be a good hero and represent myself well and represent Canada well. And, I think all that's paid off. I think the fact that I cared so much about my matches and the fact that I cared so much about my fans has never been lost on me.
The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Did you come up with that? Like, where did that evolve from? Because it's such a classic line. Like, when we mentioned that Bret the Hitman Hart was coming on, like, I don't know how many texts we got just with that quote and nothing else. So who is the genius of that? And then secondly, the sharpshooter.
Well, the first one was came from The Natural, the Robert Redford baseball movie.
Okay.
They used the line in that, and but I remember using that line with Jim and the Anvil Neidhart on I think it was a TNT Vince McMahon sort of Johnny Carson type show where he used to interview the wrestlers, and it was one of the first things I ever blurted out of my head. I was really, in those days, you have to understand, I was so nervous around Vince McMahon. He was the kind of guy that every time I think he looked at me, I think he would always look at me and go, "Oh yeah, I forgot to fire that guy yesterday." I just didn't think I was going to last very long, and I never liked Vince looking at me for very long because I just thought I was on thin ice with him all the time. So anyway, to go on to that TV show with Vince and being on that show, I was quite nervous, and I remember I blurted it out somewhere in there because I'd watched that movie, and it stuck. It was stuck as a motto for the Hart Foundation, and then later on, it became more of a something that was said to me a lot of times in the dressing room, and it was got to be kind of like a joking thing in the dressing room. But over the years, it got to be something that was taken quite serious in the sense that, I had a lot of wrestlers come up to me and go, "I have to have a good match with you," and with almost like really like fear in their eyes that they don't want to be the one to go out there to have the first bad match with Bret Hart. And I would always tell them not to worry about it. I would have a really good match. And there were some guys that were so nervous. And then we'd go out and have a great match, and they'd come back and feel like I saved their jobs or something. It was like, I just always wanted to have good matches with most everybody I worked with. So, I just know a lot of guys really relied on me and trusted me and believed in me. And, I started to get a reputation for being a guy that was really, most of all, I think the most important thing I can tell you about my wrestling, that I was always really safe. I never hurt one wrestler seriously in any kind of way ever in my whole career, which is unbelievable when you watch all my wrestling matches back. They're like car crashes, and but I'm unfortunately a lot of the times the car being crashed, but I had great matches, and I stand by my body of work of wrestling as being the best there is, the best there was, and the best there will be. Nobody will top it.
Bret Hart joined us. I love it. Now, Bret, do you have a match that you felt was your best match?
I got one. I think it was I have kind of different categories. I'll give you how I describe it. My best match might have been the one with Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 for the reason that it was just such a great story and and it came off so well. We had such great chemistry, and our two characters switched places in at the end of by the beginning of the match to the end of the match, we were like two different people, and really hard to do. It was a big challenge to try to pull that off. And when I look back on it, I think that's why we look back on it with such pride today, is that's what we tried to do, and it worked so brilliantly. It was like I became a hated guy after that, and Steve Austin became the hero, and it really was a huge amazing flip-flop. And the match itself is just a masterpiece of there's not one move in that wrestling match that you would want to take out. Everything builds and builds and builds to the ending. It's just a masterpiece, and I love that match. The Shawn Michaels Iron Man match, hardest match I ever had. It was an hour of a guy that was in phenomenal shape and a great wrestler that was going 100 miles an hour and was doing everything in his power to outshine me and run circles around me if possible. And they never happened. We ran circles around each other, but it was two wrestlers that were not necessarily, weren't trying to make each other. They were two wrestlers that were competing with each other in a very sort of hidden, sort of underneath struggle. And it's a beautiful match. It's two guys that really gave their best for 60 minutes. And I stand by any match that I've seen. I don't know that anybody ever put more on the table that day than Shawn and I. And so that's a great match. And then There's so many other ones like my brother Owen at WrestleMania 10, just for the moment, to wrestle Owen at Madison Square Garden, just to be in the dressing room with him before the match, thinking about walking out there and doing this match. And the funny thing about Owens and my story is that as a kid I used to always draw these pretend wrestling magazines, and I always draw Owen as the one bad Hart brother, and he was always my, always not necessarily fighting me, but he was the one brother that had whiskers and was kind of always in a fight with one of my other brothers. And anyway, it was just always funny because he used to read my magazines and he used to kind of love being the one bad brother. And so here we were doing it in Madison Square Garden. It was always such a funny thing. He'd always go, it's just like those magazines he used to draw, and we used to kind of laugh, and it was like sort of our childhood sort of imaginations playing out in real life. Here we are in Madison Square Garden getting ready to walk out, and we had such a great match. But on top of that, now just I couldn't say without saying it, is that the match I had with the British Bulldog in Wembley Stadium with 82,000 people. Again, the match and the crowd and it's hard to top that. That was such a beautiful moment. Even though I lost, I was always a storyteller, and that match is one of my favorite matches. That's one of my matches that paved the way for the rest of my career. I don't believe I would have won the world title if I hadn't had that match with the British Bulldog and SummerSlam in '92. And the fact that there was so many people came, and it was if you watch that match, it's a beautiful thing just to watch the crowd. Like, nobody leaves the building or the stadium. It's 82,000 people riveted to every single move, and it. And it's just a beautiful thing. And we gave them such a beautiful match. And like I said, I could just go on. I have a lot of great matches that I really was really proud of.
I think one of the most amazing things was when you went on The Simpsons and bought Mr. Burns' mansion. That was a highlight for me as a Bret Hart fan. That was a great, great moment.
It seemed like it was fitting. It was like I was the right guy to do that.
How did that come to be? How did you come to be on The Simpsons? That's such an amazing thing to do.
It's funny. I became friends with one of the casting people on the show, and I kept trying to get on the show for a while because I was a big fan of the show, and I was becoming a little more famous all the time. And anyway, they finally came back with me and said, "Hey, we got a part for a wrestler. It's the Mad Viking or something like that, and we want you to play the Mad Viking." And I said, "Can I be myself? Like, I wanted to be myself." And they said, "No, you're just the Mad Viking." And so I remember I didn't want to do it. And finally I kept trying to get them to draw me in as my Hitman character. And then they finally said that we're just going to do this Mad Viking thing and take it or leave it. And so I said, "I'll do it." "All right, I'll take it." So I flew all the way down to Los Angeles and Fox Studios and all that, and did the show. And it took me about, I had like 3 or 4 lines or 5 lines. I was in a little sound room. And anyway, that part of it took just a few minutes, and all of a sudden I was done. And I said, and my limo had already left and gone to get gas or something. So I had to wait at the Fox studio. And so I was just sitting there. This is right after I fought Shawn Michaels in the Iron Man match. So I was kind of stepping away from things and wouldn't be back for a while anyway. But anyway, I just remember this huge line showed up like while I was there, sitting there. And all of a sudden they came out of the woodwork at Fox Studios, where it was maybe, I'm not exaggerating, I would say that maybe a couple hundred people showed up with all this stuff they wanted me to sign, like pictures and sign action figures and toys and stuff. And I was signing stuff, and I remember the guy that just did the whole show with me, he came up to me and he goes, "I can't believe who you are and how many people are here." He goes, "I'm totally going to go and I'm going to protest and make sure that they draw you in as yourself, as your wrestling character." So that's why when you watch that Simpsons episode, it doesn't sound like me sometimes. So people go, "Is that you?" It's like, it's me being the Mad Viking. That's why it doesn't really sound like me. And it, in fact, is me. But anyway, they changed it and drew me in as my wrestling character, which is always why I made it such a big thing for me. So it was one of those things where, I remember, I've met a lot of celebrities and stuff that sometimes when it came to sign stuff, they're not the nicest people in the world. But for me, that day at Fox Studios, I had no problem signing all kinds of stuff for all kinds of people. And I think it paid off being a nice guy that day. So anyway, this goes back to my whole system of belief on things, that it pays off being a good guy.
Oh, unless you're a wrestler, then you like to be the bad guy.
Yeah, unless you're a Canadian bad guy, which means you can do anything you want.
Well, your line telling Mr. Burns it's going to take a while to get the old man stink out of his mansion has to be one of the top lines of the whole show. And it's been around now for 100 years itself. So congratulations.
It was a big honor. That was probably one of those things that may outlive my wrestling career. That one moment on Simpson.
One last one for you, Brett, and I really appreciate your time. As somebody who was, on the inside and you watch wrestling, you've seen it evolve, and you talked about how the speed has evolved. And you know what? When I was a kid in Stampede Wrestling, there was stuff on the mic, but not nearly as much as there is now, right? Like now it's as much about being a great wrestler. You probably got to have a pretty good personality. You definitely need some mic skills. How do you see the industry and where it is right now? Are you really proud of where it is? You're pretty confident that it's, because it keeps growing and growing, like there's a new wave of wrestlers. And I'll be honest, I don't follow it as much as I did when I was younger, no question. But what do you make of today's wrestling and where it's at?
It's hard to answer that. I'm really, I'm a little bit more like you. I like the old wrestling better. I think, I like a lot of wrestlers today. I think there's a lot of fantastic performers out there, great athletes, great performers. I'm still a big Brock Lesnar fan. I'm Roman Reigns is a great wrestler. CM Punk, what he's been doing, even now with AEW, I'm not sure if I guess he's just left there now. But he's another guy. There's so many great wrestlers out there that working for different companies and stuff. It's just, it's remarkable how many different styles, and Rey Mysterio is still going, which is, I think, a beautiful thing to watch, so I'm still a fan in a lot of ways, but from an art form standpoint, I like the wrestling I like the 90s is the best. All the 90s is way more, just seems more less scripted.
Yeah.
Just seem more natural. I like to watching and feel natural. Like when, going back to the Stomper and Stampede Wrestling and Ed Whalen, like he used to scream into the microphone and you get goosebumps up your neck, back to your neck, and you get shivers down your back when he was talking. But he was only talking about the match next week and stuff. It was never, it was bone chilling stuff, like it seemed real. Like it was always like, and then I think of boxers like Muhammad Ali and the guys talking was such a big part of boxing and wrestling. But wrestling was always a little different, and boxing always kind of played off that too, because they kind of did it their way too. But wrestling, the promos, that was something that's been altered now to what it is today, and you're seeing it. I think the biggest curse that ever happened in wrestling is probably the writers and people like that are not wrestlers. I think wrestling should always be dictated by wrestlers. It's better that way. These wrestlers that go in there, and you can't have people imagine what wrestlers do or moves and stuff. So it just doesn't work like that. You have to be. Wrestling is something that is a performance art, and for years I'll say this about wrestling is that they never got credit for being great actors, and they never got credit for being, great athletes. And in fact, they were both. And, I think that's lost on people. And I think when I watch a lot of my old matches back, where, I go to my Hitman bar once a week, and I'll watch some of the wrestling on the walls and stuff there. And it's like, I like watching it because it just looks more real. Like it looks more, doesn't look so, I got to stand here for I see this in wrestling where, 10 guys are out on the floor and one guy hits the ropes and dives over the top like bowling pins and knocks 10 guys down. When you see it over and over and over and over and over, it's like, okay, well, stop being, like, I'm so sick of that spot. Like, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Now it's part of wrestling. It's like chops. You got to do one of those every night. And I don't know. I just never. There's a wrestling fan in me that grew up watching wrestling, and I wouldn't watch the stuff today as much as I would watch the old stuff. I mean, it was more fun to watch. I even I've said this before, but I find it more fun to watch the old AWA wrestling out of. I think it's on one of the TSN or one of the sports channel.
Okay.
But anyway, I find it like when I watch it, and I'd have to be riveted to paying attention to when I'm watching it, sort of making breakfast in the morning or something. It's always like I kind of liked the way we used to be, the way it just tried to be more real.
Yeah.
And today it's just gotten away from where it's like it just looks so pretend compared to what I don't find it as entertaining that way. I mean, the best pro wrestling always has to pretend to be real, and they're just not doing a very good job of it today.
Bret, man, this has been an absolute thrill for me. Honestly, you were one of my favorite athletes as a kid. I remember my first ever Stampede wrestling in the old Edmonton Gardens, and I watched grandma spitting on the guys as they came, and I was like, oh my God, like this is legit. It was unbelievable experience, and I just became a huge fan, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. Continued success, and we really appreciate your time.
All right, well, I miss Edmonton. I hope I get up there again soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Bret the Hitman Hart. Oh, man. What an absolute beauty. I know we ran late there, but I thought it was totally worth it. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, catch up on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
This is the Jason.
There's not many. We continue on. Jason Gregor Show alongside Dwanya Gretz, Connor Halley. Big thanks. Brad Slater hooking us up with Bret the Hitman Hart, and the text line at 833-401-1037. 1440 is fired up. Hey, guys, I've listened to Bret Hart a lot. I'm a huge fan. That's one of the best interviews ever. Great job. That one comes in from Doug. Well, I appreciate that, Doug. I thought Bret was, he's relaxed. He was good. And I've always been a big believer in, when people say, oh, he's a bad interview, I'm like, well, maybe the people ask bad questions. No, he was great, man. Like, I was just sitting there with a smile on my face, just enjoyed listening to him. Like, I loved how in depth he went on his favorite matches and explaining the different reasons why he liked this one and then that one. And, even he said, hey, in Wembley, I lost, but if I don't do that match, I don't think I'm ever a world champion, because it just kind of grew his brand and stuff.
Imagine wrestling a Wembley in front of 83,000 people. Like, how do you even top that? You can't.
Thrill, man. Quite
unbelievable.
Yeah, that was outstanding. So that's a Positive Friday story right there, man. Absolutely love it. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. It's the final weekend of the Brick's tent sale. They're coming down, so now you can get up to 70% off the original price on clearance items in the tent. Stop in this weekend at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys. Question number 1. Riders Elks tonight at 7:30. Let's get a prediction of the final score.
I said 100-3 last week, and then they won. So I'm going to repeat my bet. 100-3.
Well, I'm expecting a lower scoring game. The first 2 of the season were low scoring. I think it kind of sticks that way. I think the Elks, you know what? They're on a little bit of a run. I will say they beat Saskatchewan for the first time in 3 meetings this year. And they are victorious 23-19.
Question number 2. Darren Dreger said on First Up today that he thinks there's a chance Babcock's job could be in question, but he's not reporting or predicting it. Do you think there's any chance that Babs could be out of a job before even coaching a game in Columbus?
Well, Connor, as we mentioned when this story came out earlier in the week, and I said, I think there's a chance that everybody's telling the truth on what they said publicly, because Babcock and Jenner only commented about the Jenner interaction. They didn't comment about anybody else. That's what I said. I said, well, what about the rookies? What about the young guys? And when Biznasty kept saying, hey, and he doubled down, and I give him credit. I know a lot of people were all like, whatever. Like, I laugh when people say he's doing it for clicks. I'm like, he's the #1 hockey podcast. I don't think he needs clicks. No offense. But I think they're going to take this very serious. I think his past will definitely be something that raises a red flag, and we'll see it. And, because if you're a young player, this is a tough situation. Let's say you're first or second year player, and, they're going to say, well, what made you uncomfortable? What happened? And so if you really put it out there, it takes courage to tell the truth when you think, because, hey, that might mean that Babcock gets let go. And I wonder if it means he would get let go without pay, right? Like, would this be a breach of his contract? So, yeah, I think there's a chance. I can't say how much of a chance, because I don't know exactly. Like, we've seen the reports of asking their phones, putting on AirPlay and showing all your pictures. Well, that's a pretty significant invasion of privacy.
I tend to agree. I think that he's from a different era, and I don't know how well that era is going to play going forward.
Yeah. And like, I don't even know why, like, what era are you from? Like, that's,
well, back in the day, coaches could play a much harder line with athletes than they can today. Right. And the carrot and the stick motivation, I think, when Babcock's era, if it's not today, there was a little bit more of that. And I don't think that plays with today's athletes.
Yeah. Like, it just looks like it's kind of mental intimidation. And I'm just like, how do you think, after all that's happened, all the stories that were made about him, if these allegations are true, why would, like, people don't change their stripes? And I know it's because it's hard to fathom. And there's one other thing I do want to say about this. I saw a lot of people, Biznasty doesn't know what he's talking about. I'll say, because people don't want to believe that people can do horrible things like what Babcock did. And for a second, take a step back and now think about somebody who's a sexual assault victim and why people don't believe them. People didn't want to believe something as simple as taking your phone. You're not going to have long-time emotional scars over that compared to somebody who gets raped. Right. And think about how rape is. And that's something that's revoltingly bad to have happened to you. And people didn't want to believe that Babcock did this. And it turns out he might have.
Question number 3. We saw on Thursday Night Football last night, Justin Jefferson fumble out of the end zone, resulting in a turnover. We see people immediately on social media on both sides saying that's the rule. Don't reach out. Some people think it shouldn't be a turnover. If you're the commissioner and you can make the rule, are you changing it or are you leaving it as is?
I'd leave it as is. Continuity.
yeah, it's hard for me to want to change it. Why? Like, you know the rule. It's a fumble. Like, you know, going in, there's a risk if you do that, and it's unfortunate, but that's a rule. So no, I'm not changing it.
If the NFL is going to monkey with the rules, they should be adding in rouges because that's gangster. Okay.
We know teams are coaching not to reach for it. So yeah, totally agree. Question number 4. Since we just had Bret Hart on this show, and his finishing move was one of my favorites, the sharpshooter. Which submission move in wrestling do you think is the most effective?
People's elbow? Is that a finishing move in wrestling?
Oh, yes.
Not a submission hold, though.
I would. Geez, which one was the favorite? You know what? Like, I think the sharpshooter, if I'm not mistaken, Cons, I think it was voted like the best submission. Was it not in like, was it Rolling Stones or something? I could be wrong on that. But I always liked Walls of Jericho. So yeah, I'll go with Walls of Jericho. Now, I can't remember what it was called. If it was Dream Sleeper, I know that's probably not it. But Ted DiBiase had a pretty cool one. So
I always liked the Steiner recliner just because the name was fantastic. And
yeah. Well, what about, remember Ravishing Rick Rude? Actually, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, man, when he would fly off the top ropes and be like halfway across the ring. Whoa, that was another good one. But I gotta remember what Ted DiBiase was. I gotta look it up.
While you do that, we'll get to the final question. Hypothetical Friday. If you saw aliens, but you had no proof to prove that you actually saw them, would you tell people?
Finally, something I can weigh in on. I have seen aliens. I do have proof, and I'm not telling either of you about it. Gregor, go on.
People are going to look at you differently.
Well, hey, think about it. I just told the story about people. There's certain things they just don't want to believe, right? And so some people like, and I'm probably like, if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I saw an alien," I wouldn't laugh at them. I would ask a lot of questions. I'd be like, "Oh, were you awake? You know, like, how'd you mean drinking? Like, I need to get to the root of things here first. Like, there's no hallucinogenic drugs in your system right now or anything like that." I know that there's people, some studies that say, hey, aliens exist. I'm not naive enough to think there's not another life form in our galaxy. Like, that would be rather odd to me. I would say, like, which kind of alien though? Because like, is it an ET alien or is it like the alien from Predator or Alien? Because there's a very different style here. Like, part of me is like, I could meet an ET. I think that would be okay. Now, do I want to meet the Predator or Alien? Not really. So that plays into it for me somewhat on what type of alien did you see?
I think an ET could land at the White House lawn and moonwalk into the Oval Office and people wouldn't believe it. They'd say, I don't know what I just saw. I did not see the aliens.
Well, people would nowadays, they'd say, oh, that video's doctored, which it might be. So that's going to be the challenge now moving forward is when you see the advancements in technologies and how people can falsify things, you watch. There's going to be some video that shows up online. It's like, oh my goodness, they're, the abominable snowman or Sasquatch or whatever. And you can make it look real, but it's probably not going to be real. I think if there's an alien, I think it's a very different life form. I don't think the Sasquatch or Loch Ness Monster. I don't really believe in those.
You don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, how would we have not seen it by now?
Because it's swimming around in the loch. It's all deep.
Yeah, well, we can go pretty deep.
Could just be a big old eel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
who knows?
It might be an eel.
Maybe Scottish accent.
Maybe it's like how often is
50-foot eel.
Is it the only one? Like, is he not? Is he just lonely? Like, maybe
a crew of them.
Die of loneliness. Well, if there's a crew of them, eventually you'd see one.
One would go solo and leave the loch.
I would think so. Now, maybe, hey, the ocean is a pretty deep place, so maybe he's hiding out.
Is that good question? That was a great 5 for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
we'll see. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports Center update brought to you by Edmonton Kubota. Super pumped that Sports Radio is back. So excited that right now, 0% financing for 84 months on all compact BX tractors. Shop online at edmontonkubota.com.
$14.40 update.
The Elks will continue their light playoff push as they're in Regina tonight, taking on the Rough Riders. Kickoff set for 6:30. You can watch this one with me down at downtown first round for the Elks watch party. Elsewhere in the CFL, we got the Als taking on the Argos. That one gets going shortly. Major League Baseball, the Jays looking to get back on track when they kick off a series against the Red Sox in about 2 minutes. Elsewhere around the majors, Pirates up on the Yankees 1-0 after 1. In the second, the Marlins have a 3-0 lead over the Braves, and it's scoreless between the Rays and the Orioles. The AJHL's regular season gets going tonight with the Spruce Grove Saints hosting Grand Prairie out at the Grant Pier Arena. Across town, the Crusaders hosting Fort Mac. Both those games starting at 7 o'clock. The 2-0 University of Alberta Golden Bears football team take on number 3 ranked University of Saskatchewan. That one gets going in about an hour. And on a Sunday, you got the Huskies in action. They're down in Calgary taking on the Colts. That one gets going at 1. Also, the Wildcats hosting the 4-0 Saskatoon Hilltops. That's also a 1 o'clock start. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we joined by Sportsnet's Mark Spector and Alan Mitchell from the Lowdown with Low Tide.
This has been a Sports 1440 update.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
A full-service provider of heavy haul transportation and rigging at the highest level. Next Gen Transportation.
We're developing new and innovative ways to transport oversized and overweight equipment to remote and challenging locations.
Our Next Gen team leads with a wealth of experience and expertise. But most importantly, we put safety first, so everyone gets home safely.
We also take great pride in supporting our local community programs and teams. Good luck to everyone this season and in the year ahead.
Visit nextgentransportation.com.
Come into Jiffy Lube for a Pennzoil Platinum full synthetic oil change and receive a $20 digital gift card to one of over 30 merchants, such as Cineplex or Bass Pro Shops. For a location near you, visit jiffylubeservice.ca. Jiffy Lube, keeping you moving.
Silent Ice Sports and Entertainment is an innovative market leader across Western Canada with sports and entertainment properties including the Alberta Junior Hockey League, Spruce Grove Saints, the Junior Prospects Hockey League, Silent Rides Charter Company, and the Hockey Super League. Silent Ice also owns the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds and operates the Morinville AAA Arena. A new state-of-the-art entertainment center is set to open in Nisku, which will feature 2 sheets of ice, including a 1,600-seat arena and restaurant with a viewing area.
With over 380 conveniently located card lock locations, Co-op offers the largest card lock network in Western Canada. Count on us to keep you fueled 24/7, right from Vancouver Island, British Columbia, through to Thunder Bay, Ontario, and all points in between.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free Radio Player app and listen wherever you go.
We roll through Pause Friday on Edmonton Sports Leader TSN 1260. It is the Jason Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where all the proceeds and revenue stays right here in the lovely province of Alberta, which means if you lose, you might actually be helping the Henday be construction-free one day. When, I can't guarantee it. I have no idea. Like, I'd like to know, like, if we could put a counter, like, how many days could the Henday go without construction? It's amazing to think. It's not even that old of a roadway, and it just seems like it's never ending. Never.
We'd stop crashing into overpasses and stuff. Would probably shorten the construction.
Oh, or maybe
crash
I
more.
I know now this one's crazy. This is a really crazy thought.
Yeah.
But when you're building it, think, we probably should make it a 3-lane right away. A little bit more cost now, but it will save money in the long run and save hassle. And we'll just open it up 4 months later. I know that's crazy because they prefer to have the ongoing construction. So, for all those right now on the Henday, Serenity now, because I know somewhere, somebody's on the Henday in a traffic jam. It's down to 1 lane. It's going slow. Somebody's not understanding the zipper merge. You're getting frustrated. Serenity now.
We appreciate you.
Serenity now. Yeah, we're thinking about you. We're there in spirit with you. Sports 1440. Just think about, hey, how more upset you'd be if you couldn't listen to Sports Talk Radio right now. Just think about that. That would be nice. Now, let's get to the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. Now, they are always looking for good people, and it is busy time for them. So if you're looking for a great company, great benefits, and great culture, go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. Mark Spector joins us. He's trying to construct an article some days. And hey, like construction spec, as you know, some days it's easier than others to construct an article as we sit here now 5 days away from main camp beginning. But the story that won't go away in the NHL, the investigation is ongoing on Mike Babcock. And, Draggers say, hey, this, who knows what they uncover, but they've talked to the young players, which is what we said 3 days ago. It's like, yeah, Boone Jenner could be telling the truth 100% about his interaction, but that wasn't reflective of some of the young guys who don't have kids. And, we even asked, like, what do you ask a 20-year-old? Hey, what's on your phone? Like, I don't know. First of all, is it really any of the coach's business?
No, right? No. That's the there's a few things to chew on here. This isn't something the NHL has dealt with throughout its history. The NHL moves along like an old government. They set their rules in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they work off of those rules. Well, we didn't have cell phones until whenever we had them. When did we have cell phones, Jay? 1995 or something?
Well, not me.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying. And we didn't have selfies till 2000 and all those things. This is new. These young players, there's a million sides to this. Boone Jenner's been around. He's a captain of Columbus. He can see what's going on here. This could derail their season, right?
Oh, gosh,
if this thing gets out of control and it becomes the story and Babcock gets fired or something, Boone Jenner's looking at another lost year in Columbus. How many of those have we stacked up, Jay? Oh, about 20. So this guy's looking at it going, I want this storm cloud to pass. So as much as I don't know Boone as a person, as much as he seems like a stand-up guy, and he's a hell of a player, play for my team every day, I don't necessarily just trust his word on this. I do want to talk to the young guys. I do want to talk to other people, and that's what the PA and the league's doing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think they've got to come to a resolution quickly. Either way, it's like, okay, you know what? We did our investigation. We realized that, everything's fine. We move on. Or we realize, guess what? This is unacceptable. It can't happen. You're out. Because they're going to have to find a new head coach in a span of like 72 hours.
Oh, my goodness. Right. And, you can't do it this way and think, this isn't a good team to start with. This is a team that's trying to become a good team. So when you throw this kind of distractions and God forbid for their sake, if they have to replace a coach and thereby a coaching staff at this late point, like I say, it's another season down the tubes and Columbus, they've had a lot of seasons go down the tubes, pal. In case you haven't noticed, that Blue Jackets franchise has not been a lesson in success. Nobody needs this type of thing to happen to them. The Blue Jackets need it less than anybody.
Wow. And, and then you look at like, who are some available options? We had Bruce Boudreau on, and he even said, he's a senior advisor for the Niagara Ice Dogs. But he did say that the door is open. So, there's a guy who has at least a lot of experience. He has a reputation of being a good communicator and a good player's coach. So I guess that'd be an option, but I don't care who you are. Usually the head coach spends months kind of planning and strategizing what they're going to do. Now, maybe someone would say, well, you don't need that long, but yeah, either way, this is This is like the worst case scenario of what could have happened for the Columbus Blue Jackets coming off of last season, all the injuries, everything else, new coach, and now you got this massive cloud hanging over them. And it's been here now for what, 3 days? Like at some point they gotta have a resolution.
Well, you do. And you know what? Mike Babcock has got to give his head a shake here. He left Toronto under a huge cloud of improper interaction with players, right? Improperly, I don't know. I don't have the word for it. He didn't leave Toronto because they said, "Oh, you're just a lousy coach." Everyone knows he can coach. There was always these stories about this guy and the things he did and the way he handled players. And this is the guy that sat Mike Modano in his 1500th game in Minnesota, and there's so much drama around Mike Babcock. Is he a good coach? Of course he's a good coach, for Pete's sakes. He's one of the better coaches, probably. Way too much drama around this guy. You'd think he'd grow up and figure it out, is what I'm trying to say to you, Jay. He's a pro. He's a veteran. He's been around. Figure out the drama, pal, and get rid of it and just be the good coach that you are. And don't bring all this other stuff to the table every year.
Well, I'll say this about Babcock. I know that not every player is going to like every coach they have at certain times.
Fine. That's fine.
But you think about, I know people like, oh, Mike Commodore. Well, Mike Commodore has been pretty steadfast. His opinions never changed on it. And there's lots of other stories about him. And you see, Jay Rosehill was doing an interview today and he's talking about how he spoke to someone who was in, even in Saskatoon. And they just said, this guy is a class A prick. And it's from lots of people, it's rare spec for that many people to go public with that much disdain for one human being.
I think it is. And you know what? It's the old where there's smoke, there's fire. I, as a journalist, I don't love all this unattributed opinion, and I will say about Commodore, on one hand, I give him credit. He puts his name on everything he says. On the other hand, I don't think that, he was carving Babcock for the last 3 years, vociferously every chance he gets. So I'm not sure that his opinion is not what I would consider a, hostile witness or whatever you want to call it. But
it might be truth hurts.
Might just on what he says.
Right? Yeah, might just be truth hurts. Now, the Elks are in Saskatchewan tonight to take on the Rough Riders. They've had 2 close games. Elks lost both. I was obviously with Cornelius and McAdoo as the quarterback and OC, and now you got Jarius Jackson and Trey Ford, and the Elks have been infinitely more exciting. Now, not perfect. Obviously, we talked about the 21 passing yards through 3 quarters last week, and we had Jarius Jackson on the show on Monday, and he said, hey, that was a lot of play calling, so that's on me. So, maybe we'll look for a little bit more passing, because actually, Trey Ford in 5 starts, Spec, has completed 70% of his passes. He hasn't passed a lot, but he's completed the ones he passes. And so, you know what? Maybe we see a little bit opening of the playbook tonight, a little bit. Now, the run games work really well, so I get why they use it lately. But I think you do want to pass a little bit more.
I think you do. And okay, hold on. Stop here. Is Wanye Gretz in this conversation?
Darn right. I just haven't had anything to say because I don't know anything, sir.
Come on, man. Pitch in, pal. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't fire me. I'm a volunteer.
Anyway, so let's look at it this way, Jade. Another way. When you take on a quarterback like Trey Ford, what do you do as a defense? The time honored, they did it with Tracy Ham, they did it with Damon Allen, they did it with every running quarterback. You say, I'm going to keep this guy in the pocket and make him beat me with his arm. That's what the Riders are talking about tonight. He'll beat you with his feet. Everybody knows that. But if I'm Saskatchewan, I want to say, beat me with your arm. We're going to keep you in the pocket. So my point would be, Jarius Jackson knows this too. If I know it, he knows it. Believe me. So the game plan has to be that, you know what? Either you can try to fight it and roll this guy out and try to run, and everyone knows he wants to run, or you can devise a game plan where he's maybe throwing some quick hitters, maybe he's throwing some slants. They're not going to let him roll out because that's how he kills you. So maybe you got to figure out a pocket game for this kid, and let's find out if he can handle throwing from the pocket. I think he can. Why can't he? But I want to see it.
Well, there has been a slow progression. His first game, he had 16 attempts. He completed 12. His next game, he had 18 and completed 13. Then the next game, he had 18 and completed 14 or 15. Then it went to 23 and then to 22. So there has been a slow progression in the amount of attempts, and his completion percentage has stayed fairly consistent, right? 15 of 18 was obviously his best one. And I think his worst was 14 of 22, which isn't terrible at all either. So I think it's there to throw it. Obviously Dunbar Jr.'s on the 6-game injured list, so that takes away one of his weapons, but you still got one of the best receivers in the league in Geno Lewis, and you could get Mitchell involved a little bit more. So like, this is a winnable game. The Saskatchewan's on their third quarterback, right? Like, they're on their third stringer right now. They're both young guys with not a lot of starts. So it's not like there'll be an experience factor in favor of Saskatchewan. And, you win tonight, you're still a ways out, but at least you're still giving yourself a chance in the conversation. I think that's pretty important for a young team.
Yeah, I think so too. The one thing I'd add to your game plan is if listen, and this isn't me second guessing Jarius Jackson, because he's done a hell of a job since he took over. It's literally, black and white from what that offense was doing with McAdoo. Now Jarius Jackson has it going. I would say to you that Kevin Brown has been so good with the ball off the run. I'd like to see him get him the ball in the flat. I'd like to see him some screen passes, some safety valve passes. I love to see this guy with as much open field as possible, because, it's been a long time since the Elks have had a back like this. He's special, man. Kevin Brown, he gets in the open field and they have a hard time pulling him down. So, let's see. I'm not worried about the playoffs, Jay. I said on Kevin's show this morning, when you go 0-9, if you make the playoffs, it probably speaks to the league being kind of, I don't care about the playoffs. I just like to see the fact that they're a competitive team. They've got some elements to their team that are really growing here. They've got a guy in Trey Ford that makes me want to come to the ballpark and buy a ticket. I'm going to watch that game at 7:30 because this guy's fabulously exciting. That's what I'm worried about. They make the playoffs, I'll watch. I won't expect much. How about that?
No, I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. I'm just saying it is a benefit to still think you're in the playoff hunt, right? It's that carrot you should chasing it. So, Spec, have a good time at the lake. Enjoying the Elks game tonight. We'll talk to you Monday.
All right, thanks, Jay.
It's Mark Spector, and the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. We'll get to the oil report next. A little preview tonight. The Young Guns, Borgo, Wayner, and a few more. Anybody else you should be looking at? Tulio Savoy. We'll talk about it with LT on the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can text us 833-401-1440 in our Jiffy Lube inbox.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
Hey world, get ready to believe. At Oodle Noodle, we serve up world-class, worldwide flavors in our sweet, saucy, and fiery noodles. We believe in the power of nudes. We've got everything from saucy mac and cheese to sizzling pad thai to so many other unbelievable dishes, sure to make you a noodle convert for life. You've got to taste them to believe it. Don't be a skeptic. The proof is in the noodles. Check us out at oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle Noodle. We believe in noodles.
There's 2 seasons in Alberta, winter and construction. During these days of traffic barricades and slower commutes, GS Construction reminds you those crews are improving our communities. They're rehabilitating and upgrading Edmonton's infrastructure all across the city. When you see the barricades and run into a traffic backup, remember, the crews are there to help. Drive slow and be patient. Help make our city better and join the GS Construction team. See what they're hiring for on Indeed.com. GS Construction, laying the groundwork for your community since 1974.
Sports betting is now live at PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website. All the revenue from provincial gaming programs goes back into Alberta communities like yours. When you play in Alberta, it stays in Alberta. Learn more at PlayAlberta.ca.
You don't have to sacrifice your canola yield potential to help manage clubroot, especially now that every Invigor canola hybrid with clubroot resistance includes our patented pod shatter reduction technology. Whether your fields need the protection of first or second generation clubroot resistance, you can count on our hybrids to further protect your hard-earned yield potential, so you can expect big yields, even in your tough fields. Talk to your retailer early to book your Invigor seed.
How low can they go? At Buy Low Foods, they can go way low.
Get incredible savings on great products with the lowest buy, only at Buy Low Foods.
Every Wendy's meal could use something a little crispy, dippy, and made with 100% all-white seasoned chicken. So next time, add a 6-piece of crispy chicken nuggets to your Wendy's order for just $3.49. You won't regret it. Taxes extra. Price and participation may vary.
PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated gambling website, features a variety of responsible gambling tools such as a time clock, deposit limits, and more. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense. Visit GameSenseAB.ca to find out more.
We continue on a busy, positive Friday. Welcome back to the show. How are you? Hope you got big plans for the weekend. It's Pizza Friday at the Gregor residence. Oh, I love it. A little homemade za, which is fantastic. It's very good. The shrimp has become a go-to topping for us. Sun-dried tomatoes, a little pesto. It's a good mix. It's a real good mix. So I recommend you try it out. You won't regret it. Well, maybe you will if you have no taste buds. Well, the only way you'll regret that, I'll tell you right now. Now, let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. You will never regret taking a tour of the Volvo of Edmonton showroom. Great vehicles. They have the new fully electric XC90 right now for you to try out, EX90. And right now, you can get 1.49% of financing on a certified pre-owned Volvo or a new demo, VolvoEdmonton.com. As we welcome in gentleman who is probably getting set. He's already watching on his computer the Young Guns game tonight. And Al, it's very different than past years where the Oilers would have, 4 or 5 rookies in the lineup to start the season. There might be one this year in Raphael Lavoie, maybe because Dylan Holloway is not considered a rookie anymore. He'd be another young guy in the lineup, but maybe Broberg. But what's your expectations of a guy like Maximus Wagner, the defenseman out of Moose Jaw? He's 20 years of age, who I expect he's going to turn pro this season. And we've seen some pretty good growth in his game the last few years.
Yeah, he's a player who he has a little bit of an edge to him. I talked to a WHL scout, and I asked originally about, because he'd scored pretty well. I said, what do you think of his offensive game? And he goes, well, you're burying the lead. He's a guy who has some bite to him, and teams don't like playing against him because he can play a physical game, and he's fast enough. He can move the puck okay, and that's a good part of his game. But I think he'll be a two-way type, and the type of player that Edmonton Oilers fans like a lot. Warner has some range to his game. He's going to be more than just a guy back there who you don't notice. I think I think he'll play third pair if he goes to the AHL, probably with a veteran guy. Ideally, somebody with plenty of pro experience. But I think he'll play in the AHL, and it's hard for a defenseman to step right into the AHL because it's a very good league. But they're clearly high on him, and they have been for a couple of years. And on the ice, he's played very well for them.
Borgo, Al, I know you watched a little bit of him last season. 13 goals first year in the AHL. Not great, not terrible, though, considering it's a really tough league. And it wasn't like Bakersfield was blessed with a ton of high offensive players. I think they were 24th in goals in the league last year. Borgo, I expect him to be, pretty much a full-time guy in the American League this year, which is fine. It's only his second year of pro hockey. But what do you think is the biggest area he needs to improve on?
Well, I think, his two-way game is very good. His penalty killing is exceptional. He's very good at intercepting passes and forcing bad passes from the defenseman on the forecheck. And he's good at puck handling. He puck handles in close to his skates, kind of a stick handling in a phone booth kind of a guy. So he's elusive in a lot of different ways. He has to cash more. I think that part of it is a guy like Holloway touched the puck whenever he wanted to in the AHL, but doesn't necessarily have the finishing skills. Borgo, he might have better finishing skills, but he didn't touch the puck as much. And I think for him, it was a matter of maturity and strength, maybe a little bit foot speed, but Borgo's speed isn't bad. He just wasn't as big or as dynamic as a guy like Holloway. And word we're hearing is that he's a little stronger this year. That'll go a long way. I expect he'll have a spike in points this year.
I'm looking at the lineup for the Young Guns game here, LT, and the goalies are listed as Nathan Day and Zachary Bowen. My first thought is, who? My second thought is, who? And then my third thought is, Lowtide will get to it. He'll break it down for us. Who are we looking at here? Who are these guys?
Well, the starter tonight was drafted by the Oilers, and he's a bigger player, like a big goaltender, and he's got great. The word is he's got great reflexes and a good glove, but rebound control is his issue, and that's something he'll have to work on. But the mechanics are there and the size are there, and that's why he got drafted. The Oilers, Fort Wayne Comets, their ECHL affiliate, they actually signed from the London Knights Brochu, who's a pretty good goaltender, but he doesn't have size. But he played at the canceled World Juniors, and he played well for the London Knights. If you're looking at math, at numbers, Brochu's the better goaltender, but NHL teams like size. Nathan or Nathaniel Day is a guy with size, and he'll let out rebounds tonight, but they like him as a prospect. Probably 2 full years in junior after this camp, and then turning pro. But goaltenders are tough because they can look lost, and then all of a sudden look like they're going to be Stuart Skinner, like happened with Stuart Skinner. So. I would say the long game of a guy like Nathan Day, enjoy him, but understand it's going to be possibly years before you see him in Edmonton.
What's your expectations for Stu Skinner this year?
Well, I think he's going to play well. I know a lot of people they talk about, he's going to have a sophomore slump or whatever, and I do think Jack Campbell has to take more of the load on, but when Skinner was playing well, he had calm feet in the net. There weren't a lot of holes, and he seemed to be able to handle the pressure. Now, in the playoffs, it was different. And Jason, you've mentioned this a few times, and you're so right. 2 periods let them down. Games 5 and 6, second periods let the Oilers down. And Skinner was part of that. Don't get me wrong. But I think it was a team loss, and I like Skinner's upside, and I like his future. I didn't like the draft pick at the time because they had to trade 2 picks to trade up, but that's one that's worked out. I think Skinner's going to play maybe 45 to 50 games this year, and I think he'll move forward. He'll make some incremental progress over what was a pretty solid rookie year. He was nominated for our Calder Trophy, so that's pretty good.
Al Mitchell, a.k.a. Lowtide, joins us, a host here on Sports 1440, noon until 2 every weekday. Al, Jack Campbell obviously didn't have a great season last year. Of the 40 goalies who played at least 30 games, he was 37th in save percentage. It was not great. But I looked at it, in 15 of his 34 starts, he allowed 68 goals. Right, like he had a 4.58 goals against. Like when he was bad, he was really bad, and he had a 10-game stretch where he was actually pretty good. I don't expect Campbell. I just think it's too hard to be that bad. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be great, but I think if Jack Campbell can be a 902, 903 goalie in today's NHL, you'll actually be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and I think several things are going to happen. The Oilers, Campbell had first of all, he was changing equipment. That's never a good thing for a goaltender because it just isn't. You've got all kinds of elements at work, and now you're changing a big part of how you present yourself in the game, and that can take a while. Then he played a lot early and was not good, and he got his confidence shattered a little bit, and they were the suppression of shots after the arrival of Ekholm was pretty high, and I think the Oilers will be a better defensive team. I think in order for Campbell to have a great year, the Oilers will have to give up fewer shots, and they were pretty good at not giving up a high amount of dangerous shots, but there were a few shots that were not high danger that Campbell let in. And I think the increased workload was something that he maybe wasn't prepared for. I think he'll be better prepared. I'm not saying he's going to be a 920 goaltender, but as you said, if he can improve even a little bit, then this team will be able to count on him. And I think that if he gets a little bit of confidence, he could surprise. I'm not saying 920, but I think he could be in the range of where Skinner is in terms of save percentage this year. And I do, as you say, expect a recovery.
Al, have yourself a good weekend. What do you think about the green and gold tonight?
Well, I think they're going to win.
All right. Simple and easy.
Did I shock you?
No, not at all. I actually tendency to agree with you. Saskatchewan isn't a juggernaut offensively. The 2 wins they had over Edmonton were both close when the Elks had a bad OC and an average quarterback. I think they're improved in both positions, and they're coming in with a lot of confidence. Wins in 3 of their last 4. I actually do think they get a win ttonight.
They're beautiful. Look at us. We're in agreement.
All right.
That's one.
That's one, Al. Don't make it a habit, okay?
No, I won't. I promise.
Okay, have a good weekend.
All right, you too, guys.
That's Al Mitchell, a.k.a. Low Tide, the Oil Report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. We will come back, wrap this up. We got a lot of texts, man. Bret the Hitman Hart was very popular amongst our texters. No surprise. We really enjoyed that interview. If you missed it, I highly, highly recommend checking out the podcast later on. I think it'll be up right away. Also, the interview will be up at jasongregor.com if you missed it. It was a really, really good listen. Bret Hart opened up about a lot of cool things, favorite matches, lots of different stuff. Talking really technically about wrestling. I thought it was great. It is the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. We are live in the eWell studio, EWEL.ca, your one-stop shop for all things electrical.
Building or renovating, you want to work with someone who sees and understands your vision. BIE Engineering is a family-owned, experienced structural engineering consulting firm serving commercial and residential clients in Edmonton and surrounding area. Homeowner or large company, they'll work with you to help see your ideas through. BIE Engineering can help prevent problems, deliver solutions, and minimize your risk. BIE Engineering. Request a quote for your project today. Visit BIEENG.com.
A full-service provider of heavy haul transportation and rigging at the highest level. Next Gen Transportation.
We're developing new and innovative ways to transport oversized and overweight equipment to remote and challenging locations.
Our Next Gen team leads with a wealth of experience and expertise. But most importantly, we put safety first, so everyone gets home safely.
We also take great pride in supporting our local community programs and teams. And in the year ahead.
Visit nextgentransportation.com.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance. When you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
McCafe now has cold brew beverages, and they're smooth. Made with 100% Arabica beans, steeped cold and slow for an irresistibly smooth taste. McCafe cold brew beverages, for a limited time only at participating McDonald's.
How low can they go? At Buy Low Foods, they can go way low. Stock up and save big when you buy more of select products. Only at Buy Low Foods.
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot, Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games.
18 plus. Please play responsibly. This is not a gambling website.
Your old furnace can die in the blink of an eye, so why take that chance this winter? Eric Mikowski here, head of the family at Furnace Family. The time for a new furnace is now. Not only will you have peace of mind on those cold winter nights, you will save money on those super expensive gas bills. Unsure? Furnace Family can come check your furnace, and if you buy a new one from us, the check is free. Daikin has an industry-leading lifetime warranty on their heat exchangers. It could be the last furnace you ever buy. Visit furnacefamily.com. Jingle time.
Done right, day or night, furnacefamily.com.
There's no rush to switch to a better electricity rate from Encore by Epcor, unless, you like to save money. And time is money, so why wait? If you're already an Epcor customer, switch to power from Encore by Epcor today and start saving straight away. Same electricity, lower rate. You could save hundreds of dollars this year, like thousands of our customers who already made the switch. Learn how at switchtoencore.com.
Customers are free to purchase natural gas or electricity services from a retailer of their choice. For a list of retailers, visit ucahelps.alberta.ca or call 310-4822 toll-free.
Get set to wrap up a busy Friday edition of the Jason Gregor Show. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Wanya Gretz, Connor Halley with you. Busy weekend. NFL, CFL, U Sports football, high school football, junior football. Man, it's all going on. It's great. The Jays, can they pull themselves off the mat, man? They just took an ass kicking the last 4 days. First time in franchise history. They lost all 4 games at home in one homestand. Unbelievable. That's never happened. There's certain records you want, and then there's certain records you don't. Now, we got a lot of texts coming in. Hey, Wanye, just like to know if this comes from Spaghetti. Drake is a singer, not a rapper.
Good heavens. We can fight in the alley.
Oh. Interesting. Yeah, like he's a rapper. I do believe he's a rapper. I just think it's a different, like rap's evolved a little bit from, it almost has a little bit R&B to his rap. Is that fair?
Drake's dad told him you can't sing and rap. And you know what? He didn't listen to his dad, and he has more #1 hits than the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with him saying he's bad. I'm just, does he really have more #1 hits than the Beatles?
And he rapped about it in the song. Rapped, not saying.
Hey, Greg says, a lifelong wrestling fan. I love the fact you bring up wrestling every now and then, dating back to the all your time on air. Love the interview with the Hitman. Jealous. That one comes from Quentin. Well, Quentin, thanks, man. No, that was, honestly, there's certain guests I've had over the years that will rank up now as I think my top 5 favorite interviews I've had.
I could not believe it when you texted me today. Get ready. We're talking to the Hitman. I was like, what? Hitman? How can I go to the top of the ladder this quickly, Gregor? Where's there to go after this?
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? There's always room to improve. There's always room to improve.
UN Secretary General Kofi Annan?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Hey, Greg's, it was the $1 Million Dream by Ted DiBiase. Yes, I got a lot of texts. You guys were all right. I knew the move. I just couldn't remember the name. So thank you. Yes. Was Virgil his guy for a while? Then he became his own. Then he became his own guy. But wasn't like Virgil kind of his manager for a bit? Am I dreaming this up wrong? Declan, let me know. I thought he was. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Is he shaking his head? Is he calling me an idiot?
No, I don't see any idiot being mentioned.
Okay. Cons, was it? Like, wasn't Virgil with Ted DiBiase for a while?
I mean, Ted DiBiase was a little bit before my time, but looking it up, he was his bodyguard.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, there you go.
Kind of wrestler needs a bodyguard.
Ted DiBiase, because he carried around $1 million, man. He had the briefcase full of money.
Briefcase full of money.
People are going to rob you. Safety first.
That's right.
Safety first. We did get a lot of votes for the camel clutch as one of the best finishing moves. Also, Mr. Socko.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, I love it. Oh, man. You know what? The great part about it is the wrestling fans, as I've always said, I'm never one that was embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. And even, hey, when the best there ever is, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be, doesn't watch it with the same vigor now, I don't feel bad. So I still appreciate it. I think there's a lot of skill that goes involved in it, because it's multi-skill in the fact that lots of athletes just have to worry about their performance physically. Wrestlers, part of the performance is really being good on the mic and that personality and persona, and that can be the difference if you ever want to be a world champ. Like there's very few, now maybe I know Declan's a huge wrestling guy, Connor, but I'm trying to think of anybody that was like a longtime champ who was just a schmuck on the mic.
Trying to think.
Right? Like it kind of goes hand in hand. Now, you don't have to be The Rock or Steve Austin, but you can't just be an absolute dud and then be the champ for an extended period of time.
Remember when The Rock would get in the ring with like a guitar and sing a whole song and then beat the heck out of somebody?
Oh,
what a skill set.
Oh, man. Well, that reminds me of, oh, God, what was his name?
Honky Tonk Man?
Yes, the Honky Tonk
I
Man.
can't believe I knew something.
Yes,
this is unbelievable.
And he'd break the guitar over guys' heads. Oh, that was classic, man.
Jeff Jarrett did that too for a bit.
Yeah.
That was kind of his shtick.
Hey, guys, Goldberg was awful on the mic from Delta Valley Jeff.
Yeah, the streak, though.
You know what?
The Undertaker was terrible on the mic. Didn't say a word.
He didn't have to, those personas.
But he was a champ-ish,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Oh, he was champ all the
But
time.
he never got on the mic?
I did a little bit. Kane never was on the mic.
Oh, Kane.
Yeah,
Of
Kane
course,
wasn't
that's
on the
what I'm
mic.
thinking.
But Goldberg spoke a bit. But you're right. He wasn't great. But the thing about like Goldberg just had a few like how he looked, right? Like remember his traps were like bigger than most people's biceps. Like, God, that guy was huge. So
one of the best entrances when he'd get walked out by like the arena security.
Yes. Yes.
Unbelievable. Hype.
Hey guys, Honky Tonk is actually my wife's uncle. Wayne is his real name. Norman a Combine. What? You know what? We had somebody earlier who said their wife's cousin was, or is, I should say, the Cuban assassin.
Can this be true?
Well, hey, Norman a Combine's a long-time listener. Farmers don't lie. Let me just say that right now. But we might have to reach out to Norm. Get the Honky Tonk Man to play a song.
That'd be unbelievable.
Get him on here. Why not? Oh, wait. Now, is Honky Tonk still around?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
70
perfect.
years old.
70 now. And boy. Oh, boy. Hey, Greggs, I like the interview with Vanstone earlier on. I'm curious about the Elks. Realistically, what has to happen for them to make the playoffs? Okay. So here's the thing. If you look at it, to catch Saskatchewan, they're 3 wins behind. So even if they win tonight, now they're 2 wins back and they have 4 games left, and Saskatchewan has a game in hand. So realistically, Edmonton would probably have to go 4-1 in their final 5 games, which would give them then 7 wins. And that means Saskatchewan has to lose all theirs because Saskatchewan has a tiebreaker. So pretty unlikely they catch Saskatchewan. So now you go to Hamilton, who, if you want to do the crossover and they're in 3rd place, then you have to finish with more points than Hamilton. So unless you think there's going to be some magical tie, which happens, but very, very rare. So Hamilton has 5 wins. Edmonton needs 6. So that means they got to win at least 3, and then Hamilton would have to go 0-5. So if Hamilton wins 1 game, then Edmonton has to go 4-1 to beat Hamilton. Like I said earlier, I play. It's just being in the mix is nice. So mathematically, they're not eliminated till later on. But realistically, I don't think they are. They're going to get in. Hey boys, do you remember the Brooklyn Brawler? Oh yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler was the guy who was always getting, and you knew he was losing, right? I can't remember what they called those guys, but there was a term for them. The guys you knew were basically they were going to lose. Like the odd time if you lost to the Brooklyn Brawler, that was a tough one. But yeah, I remember the Brooklyn Brawler, but he was never that good. Hey guys, Bob Backlund was terrible on the mic from Shawnee. All right, now that's a little bit while back, right? So okay, that's fair. Yeah, I would agree with you. Jobbers, that's what they're called. Ramon, thank you, Ramon. That's right. Or Ramorn, sorry, Ramorn, not Ramon. Ramorn. That RN, man, it looks like an M if I read it quickly.
It's late in the day.
Mm-hmm. So I like it. Hey, Ramorn's a huge wrestling fan, man. You're texting all the time. I love it. Hey, Greggs, what about your favorite, the Ultimate Warrior? Hey, wait a sec. Delta Valley Jeff, do you need to wash your mouth out with soap? Because you might have to. Never, ever say anything negative about the Ultimate Warrior. The most entertaining wrestler of all time. at least when it came to entrances and running on the outside of the ring. But you're right. It is fair. He was not. And thankfully for the Ultimate Warrior, when he was there, the mic wasn't, it was kind of coming in, but it wasn't as big of a part of it is now. Because you're right. He never would have been like, he couldn't be Stone Cold. He couldn't be The Rock. Like, heck, he couldn't be, Ravishing Rick Rude didn't say much, but he was just so dirty. It was hilarious. Like, you just remember his pants that he had? Oh, God, they were great.
How have you not mentioned Hulk Hogan throughout this entire day?
Well, Hulk was pretty good, though, on the mic.
Oh, he was great on the mic.
Are you kidding
He
me?
was the transcendent one.
Well, it's interesting, though. You talk to wrestling aficionados, they thought that technically he was never that great, right? But he was such a good personality. And I think one of the best things he ever did was when he went and became a heel for a while, right? With NWO, a New World Order. That was amazing, right? Like he's dying at his beard a little bit, and they had like Kevin Nash. They had some beauties in there, man. Like NWO was fantastic. Like for a long time, they were really, really good. And it helped that you have like one of the greatest stars ever, Hulk Hogan, right? Like you consider him he was good on the mic, and he was just such a personality. Like how he could get the crowd, but just by putting his hand to his ear, like such a simple thing, but absolute genius, right? And then of course, who can't forget, Ric Flair, right? Like, oh God, the ageless wonder.
He's still going hard.
Oh God,
maybe not as hard as he used to go, but he's still, relatively speaking, going hard.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of the jobbers, right? Hey guys, wrestlers could get away with good not being on the mic in the 80s because Mean Gene was so good at carrying an interview. It's true. It's true. Now, another guy who was great on the mic, Roddy Piper. Oh, he was a beauty.
I was reading on Wikipedia that he once claimed he was Hitman's cousin, but it wasn't cited on Wikipedia. So if you think I'm going to bring that up, you are incorrect. Uncited Wikipedia? No.
Which kind of cousin? Like
third
cousin, fourth time removed?
Piper claimed to be his cousin once in an interview. It wasn't reciprocated.
No. Well, it's probably because, hey, that's a great part about him. When you're the heel, you claim anything, right? Like it's genius. Some days you got to be the heel on the show. I like it. Well, it'll happen as the season gets along. I'll probably end up looking like the heel because old fanboy over here. So that'll be quite interesting. So coming up this weekend, Connor, you got one game not involving the Chargers that you can watch on Sunday. Who are you watching?
Well, I mean, Chargers would be the one that would come to mind
immediately. But I just said you can't watch them. And like, why do you want to watch another loss?
Because they could win.
Oh, they could, and my hair could grow back.
I want to have Wanye's optimism towards the Oilers, and I want to put that towards my Chargers. But a game that I think is actually going to be interesting, man. If Aaron Rodgers would have just stayed healthy, then Jets-Cowboys would have been a lot of fun to watch. But I'll say this one, Chiefs-Jags. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are an offense that are on the rise, and they're at home. Kansas City, we'll see how healthy Travis Kelce is. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think that will be a very entertaining game this weekend.
Is New England going to get blown out by Miami?
I thought they'd get blown out by Philly. They kept it close. They kept it competitive. Yeah. Some fans might say they should have won. So,
yeah, Philly wasn't sharp, though, in that game. Miami looked really sharp in week one.
If anyone can slow down Tyreek Hill, it's Bill Belichick.
Well, we'll see if he does, buddy. And the Jays, are they going to win a game tonight?
No.
Oof. There you go, con man.
Prove me wrong,
Not
Jays.
being positive. Wanye, have a good weekend.
You too, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Everybody, thanks so much for listening to it. All the positive comments. Tell someone about the show. Of course, mention Bret the Hitman Hart. If you missed the interview, go to jasongregor.com and it'll be up where all you have your podcasts. Or guess what? You can just rewatch the show on YouTube. Oilers Nation YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Okay? Want to keep growing our subscribers. And remember, starting in October, if you're a subscriber, you could be winning some tickets to a game. Awesome. Now, let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool all summer and winter at legacyheating.com. Good night. Stay safe. Please don't drink and drive.
It's time for a Sports 1440 update.